Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the March 13th, 2025 meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners. If you would stand with us, please. Our Commission Chaplain, Romel McMurray, will lead us in our prayer and our pledge. Commissioner McMurray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we stand before you this evening to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you do, from the little things to the big things. We're always forever grateful, and we thank you for your grace and your mercy. We thank you for your unmerited favor that's on our lives. We give you the glory and the honor. I ask that you be with us this evening as we conduct the business of the people. Let us put others first over self. I ask that you block out any outside noise and negativity that's thrown our way. Let us stand firm and be united as one body. We seek your wisdom and your guidance every single day, and so we seek that same wisdom and guidance this evening. I ask that you heal our land. So much turmoil on every turn that we do, but we know that you are our God who can do the unimaginable and can turn things around for your good and your glory. Bless our county, bless our state, and bless our country. I ask that we continue to respect each other regardless of how we disagree with issues or with others. Lord, let us remain united. Let us remain united. Again, let us remain united. We give you all the glory, we give you all the honor, and we give you the praise. And Lord, as leaders, let us be reminded that our titles and our positions are rented, but it's our character that we own. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 3 white stars on the field of blue, God keep you strong and ever true. It is with pride and love that we salute the flag of Tennessee.
Thank you. You may be seated. This time I'll call on our Rutherford County Clerk, Lisa Crowell, to call the roll.
Commissioner Oliver.
Present.
Commissioner Piercy.
Here.
Commissioner Rather.
Here.
Commissioner P.
Here.
Commissioner Davison.
Here.
Commissioner Beverly.
Here.
Commissioner Cush.
Present.
Commissioner Reed. Commissioner James.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Anthony Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Commissioner Paul Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Irvin.
Here.
Commissioner Harris. Here. Commissioner Dodd.
Here.
Chairman Phillips.
Present.
Commissioner McAdoo. Here. Commissioner McMurray.
Here.
Commissioner Gooch.
Here.
Commissioner Sereno.
Here.
We have a quorum, 20 present.
Thank you. Those of you may be wondering where Commissioner Pettis Reed is tonight. He came down with the norovirus yesterday and spent the worst possible night of his adult life last night. And he is a sick individual, but he's recovering. And that norovirus will get you down. So y'all be thinking about Pettis as we go through tonight's meeting. And those of you that know him, knowing it would take something like that to keep him from attending this meeting. At this time, we need to approve the minutes from our February 13th meeting. I'll call on the Chairman Pro Tem Trey Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have reviewed those minutes, among others, and find them to be appropriate. I move that we dispense with the reading and approve them as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the February 13th meeting minutes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. We've got a special resolution tonight, but before we do that, I need to make a really quick announcement. We've got a standing room only here tonight, it looks like, and there probably is a little confusion about public comments and public hearings. We will have a public hearing on a rezoning tonight out on Almaville Road, and everyone that wants to speak will get the chance to speak during that public hearing. There appears to be at least 5 individuals that have signed up under public comments, and they're talking about that Amival Road rezoning. If you've signed up under public comments, since we've had a lot of people sign up, it would be appropriate, and I would appreciate you holding your comments until we get into the public hearing. Any questions on that? I won't stop you from coming up if you want to, but we will have a public hearing, and everyone will get a chance to make their comments during that public hearing process, okay? Any questions on that?
Chairman, what time is that public hearing?
It will be at 6:30 or very close to it. At this time, we have a resolution for Stewarts Creek High School Band. I'll call on Commissioner Joshua James.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we get started on the resolution, I wanted to make a quick comment about how this resolution came to be, and wanted to thank the several party members that, or several fellow members of the commission and other members, other individuals who got us to this point today. A mentor of mine always told me to look for the why behind the why, so that's what I wanted to do. For us in this one, yes, I invited the school for this resolution on this at the event. Prior to that, we had a fellow commissioner here, Commissioner Harris, who presented the concept, the idea of helping these students with their fundraising to get the funds available to go do this trip. In that time frame, we fell through and chose not to fund that. Thought we did not want to set a precedent of funding for the trips like that. So we chose up, and I chose in that inviting and that argument, why don't we at least recognize these students and this faculty for the achievements that they've done and how they represented Rutherford County and the state of Tennessee. And then I want to give further credit for the individual who actually helped write this resolution and get this resolution to the finish line. And that would be our Commissioner Phil Wilson, where 2 months ago when I first invited them, through other obligations, other things, I fell short on getting my back and forth needed with the school itself. But Mr. Wilson here has a direct contact and personal connections with them, and we share that line of that jurisdiction with that school, and he was able to get us to here today. So I wanted to appreciate for both the commissioners. Furthermore, I want to appreciate the administration, the directors, and all faculty at the schools for allowing these students to have the environment to learn, to develop, and to become as skilled as they clearly have become. And then the students, their parents, and their families for the sacrifices, the times, the effort it takes to get to the level that they've achieved. So with all that, if they will start coming up here, I would like to make sure that they are seen and recognized as I read this resolution aloud. Rutherford County Commission Resolution of Support and Appreciation for the Stewarts Creek High School Band. Whereas, since its founding in 2013, the Stewarts Creek High School Band has consistently upheld a high standard of musical excellence, receiving superior ratings in concert and sight reading performance from the Middle Tennessee School Band and Orchestra Association, and recognition from the Tennessee Arts Academy, including the 2024 School of Merit and Arts-Rich High School designations. And whereas the Stewarts Creek High School Band has been recognized 6 times by the American School Band Directors Association with the Award of Distinction in Concert Performance. And whereas in the past, the band has proudly served as ambassadors for Rutherford County, the state of Tennessee, through notable performances at events such as the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, the dedication of the Captain Jeff Kuss Memorial, and a national televised appearance on the WGN America for the Chicago Thanksgiving Day Parade. And whereas the Stewarts Creek High School Wind Ensemble was selected to perform at the 61st Annual Tennessee Music Education Association Music Education Conference, further showcasing the program's high standards in artistic achievement. And whereas the Stewarts Creek High School Band regularly leads Rutherford County in the number of students selected through competitive auditions to the MTSBOA All-State or All Mid-State Bands and TMEA All-State Bands. And whereas the band's success is guided by directors Debbie Burton and Michael Chester, director of the percussion Alexis Eutisses Derryberry, color guard director Allison Mader, and the Stewarts Creek Middle School band directors Elijah Gilmore and Brittany Gerald, and all supported by Principal Dr. Clark Harrell. And whereas on January 20th, 2025, the Stewarts Creek High School Band was selected to represent the state of Tennessee and was one of only 2 high school bands nationwide who performed in Washington, D.C. at the 60th Presidential Inauguration Parade of Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Commission that the Stewarts Creek High School Band is hereby recognized and commended for representing the state of Tennessee at the 60th Presidential Inaugural Parade, bringing distinction to Rutherford County through their exceptional musical talent and commitment to serve their county, state, and country. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I so move.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, I would like to give them the floor.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Harrell?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, I'm Clark Harrell, principal of Stewarts Creek High School. It is my honor to be joined by Stewarts Creek High School band directors Debbie Burton and Michael Chester, and also our band leaders, our students. I am so proud of this group, and I want to thank the County Commission for recognizing us, and that means so much to our students. It creates a buzz in the band room, and it means a lot. So thank you for doing that. And I know from your standpoint in this hall, it's rare that it's done. So again, we appreciate it. I want to thank each one that participated as far as our band members that are not here tonight. They will be representing with short statements, but again, it took every one of them, and they were phenomenal. And I was glad I was there to watch every bit of it. As we think about our award-winning band, they were selected, yes, to perform, and selected, I want to stress, at the 60th Presidential Inauguration. They were ambassadors for Rutherford County and ambassadors for the state of Tennessee. The journey leading up to the band's performance at the presidential inauguration is something that I will never forget. It's something our families, our children, and even our children's children will, from years in the future, will be talking about and alluding to way beyond this night of your special recognition. It is not a common thing to have the opportunity to represent your school, your county, your state, and yes, even your nation. And for this occasion, I personally, as principal and biggest fan, I cannot say enough, having been there, how proud I am of our band directors and our students in the band. I'm so proud. I also really want to say this. I appreciate so much, and I hope there are those that will listen if they're not here, those that were willing to contribute financially for this historical occasion. I had a person that came into our front office. They thought they had a minimal amount of money. I brought them into my office and said, it takes all of us to get our band there. And I thanked them so much. And they were saying, I wish I could do more. And I said, you've done everything. our county will get us there. In the end, I am happy to be able to share with you, each one of you, that we did not need funds from the county or the school board, thanks to our overwhelming support. And to be quite honest, everyone in this room, I appreciate it, seriously, and especially at these tables. We could not have done it without your back and your support. But because of it, of our community and our businesses overwhelmingly supporting us, they helped our band to go on this historical journey. I cannot leave this podium tonight without a very public thank you for our Tennessee delegation, and especially Senator Marsha Blackburn. When the parade was moved indoors to the Capital One Arena and 40 participating groups went to 8, she made sure that we were one of them. As has already been alluded to in the resolution, in fact, we were only one high school band besides Vance's high school band, so a 2 total that participated. Senator Blackburn went to bat for us. She said to me, and I quote, "I was not going to have these kids disappointed," and they were not. So again, I want to thank the county commissioners. I want to thank our wonderful county leaders, because without your support, things like this can never happen. They can't. Our future is bright because we have great and talented young people, and these I present to you are our future leaders, and we will be in good hands. Thank you.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Debbie Burton. I am one of the band directors, and thank you for this recognition and this honor. I'll try to be a little brief, but I did kind of want to give you all like a little bit of the rest of the story to share with you how remarkable the students are at Stewarts Creek and the band members are at Stewarts Creek. So the event was moved indoors last minute. So of all of our preparation leading up to the parade was for an outdoor parade, a large 4-lane road. So we would have 9 members across in our formation. And then only to find out 24 hours beforehand that we are now going to actually perform indoors with a space of only 15 feet for us to march in. And everything that we had prepared for now was not going to be realized. Now the band is on the road. We're already on our buses on the way to DC. And by the time we get to DC the night before, it's close to 9, approaching 10 o'clock at night. We tell the students, okay, we have to completely readjust everything that we've learned for this performance. We're in DC and Bethesda, and we have nowhere to actually practice, except for the hotel has a parking garage attached to it. So we asked the students to meet us at 10:30 in the lobby, dressed in their winter coats and shoes, and we take them into the parking garage and give them a completely new formation. Of course, we can't actually practice. We couldn't bring our instruments and play in downtown Bethesda. I guess we could have, but, and we just completely changed everything we did. Never actually got to practice what they performed at the inaugural, at the Capital One Center. And for us, a little nervous as we're getting ready to perform, students a little nervous, but always excited. And they did remarkably. I cannot express how proud I am of the students. What makes it even more special for me as their educator was after the performance. They had us in a holding room, which was the visitors' team hockey locker room at the Capital One Center, a space that was way too small for the 160 members of our band. So we were packed in there like sardines. It was very hot. But once we came out of the arena, came back to our locker room, the kids erupted in celebration. You would have thought we just won the Super Bowl. We were in a locker room. The only thing missing was the champagne, because it was that type of an excitement from the students. And that just also is what makes everything so meaningful for me as their educator. So I want to give, again, thank you to all for this recognition, but I do want to allow the students to come up and speak as well.
Hello, my name is Isabel Martinez. I serve as one of the drum majors in the band, and just being able to do this, it meant so much to us. All the hard work, all the dedication that all the students did, it was crazy to see everybody just come together and do something so wonderful and magical that we will remember for the rest of our lives. Going off of Ms. Burton's story, when I went back into the locker room and everybody was celebrating, I started crying because I was in tears. It was just a feeling that knowing that we were gonna be in history books and all the hard work that we did, it meant so much to us. And I just want to thank all of you guys for supporting us and supporting what we do. And thank you.
Hello, my name is Madison Green, and I serve as the trumpet section leader at Stewarts Creek High School Band. And this was a very out-of-body experience. I didn't realize what we did until we left DC, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I just played in the inaugural. And it was an interesting thing because my dad actually played in the inaugural parade back in 1997. He was at Tennessee State University. He was serving as a drum major, and it's kind of crazy how we both kind of did the same thing. And he wouldn't stop showing me pictures of him dancing down the street. But this was amazing. I don't think I'll ever get this experience ever again. I don't think I'll ever go back to DC again. One, because it's cold. Two, because everything building up to it, all the rehearsals, all the just everything leading up to it, the panic, the organized chaos, the chaos, it was just amazing. I don't think I'll ever get to have this experience again, and I'll be able to share this with other people when I get beyond my years. So thank you to everybody that helped out, everybody that donated, everybody that allowed us to get to where we are now. And we are now, as Mr. Chester says, world class. So, thank you.
Hello, my name is Jackson Plumbo, and I am in the 11th grade in the Stewarts Creek High School Band, and I play the trumpet. And I just want to give a brief thank you to everyone that made this trip possible, including our two band directors and principal here. Really, the whole thing just didn't feel real. I mean, starting from when we got the news to rehearsing in the cold, I didn't really fully understand what we were doing, but when we finally got out there in the arena, it was all like, whoa, like it's all happening. And really the skills that we learned through the process are invaluable, and really learning the hard work and dedication, putting in the hours through the cold rehearsals, and just the whole process coming to DC was incredible. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, kind of in closing here, I just want to say, my name is Michael Chester. I'm one of the other band directors here at Stewarts Creek, and I just want to say how much of an honor it was to be with this program and to have this band program represent not only Rutherford County schools, but the state of Tennessee. It's something that words do not, you can't express in words, that feeling of pride. We have a saying in the Stewarts Creek High School Band program that tomorrow starts today. And our collective vision of helping our young people become better citizens, better versions of themselves. That's where that philosophy comes from. Tomorrow starts today. Because what we want to do is we want to build a better society. And we do that through the lens of music education. And so a trip of this magnitude and all of the support, the phone calls, the financial support, all of that, too numerous in words to express other than to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I want to share this with you that, March happens to be a very special time. It's Music in Our Schools Month. And, as a commission, I know that you all as a collective body have such a daunting task with so much unprecedented growth here in Rutherford County. So we thank you for what you all do as servant leaders for this wonderful town that we get to work in, this wonderful county. And I would just like to leave you with this thought, that how important funding for music and arts education is. It gives an opportunity for our young students to, again, be better versions of themselves. The social emotional learning and the impacts that arts and music instruction has, it's something that is so critical. And so we appreciate everything that this commission does to help support Rutherford County schools and all of the complexities and all of the layers that you all have to deal with. I know it's a thankless job. But we want to say on behalf of the Stewarts Creek High School Band and our faculty and administration of Stewarts Creek High School how much we value what you all do to help us teach in a great school system, at a great school, and to be able to work with some of the best students in Rutherford County. Thank you.
With this, I just feel like I need to point out that this principal, the administration, the staff, the faculty, in my opinion, from what I've seen living out there, having one student go through the system, having another one about to come into that very school, they have one flaw. They keep raising the bar for all their students across all parts. So with that, the commission, Rutherford County, we want to say thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you again so much.
Greg, picture. You help bring this up here.
What's it? Y'all got to move in because the guy on the end looks fat.
He's on.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.
Hey, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. It's almost 6:30. At this time, we'll get into our public hearings, and I'll call on our planning director, Doug DeMasi. Mr. DeMasi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. Just have one public hearing for your consideration tonight. This is a request by Chris Rudd. This property is located at 8470 and 8478 Almaville Road. It's currently zoned residential medium density, or RM. They are asking for employment and activity center, or EAC zoning. Size of the site is about 39 acres. As I stated, the applicant does want to rezone this property to Employment and Activity Center. According to the application submitted, this rezoning will, and what's in the staff report here came directly out of their application, construction of 3 buildings for distribution and warehousing with a variety of vehicular and truck parking for use by the building tenants. Each building will contain some amount of office space as well. Specific tenants have not been identified at this time. You'll find in your iPads that there is a concept plan that's been submitted along with the application. The concept does show showed the three buildings and approximately a total size of about 431,000 square feet, give or take. This is not a planned development, so this is not a binding plan. However, it does give the commissioners an idea as how they are proposing to develop the property. This concept plan does show two access points along Almaville Road. You can see that on the plan again on your iPads. The access points as they're shown, again, these are conceptual. There has been a meeting with TDOT already on the potential location of these access points. This will more than likely change. TDOT didn't like the location of the northernmost access point. They thought it was a little too close to the interchange. So that's probably something, should this application be approved, that will be amended. Also, we have met with the applicant's design team a couple of different times on this particular project. One for the pre-application meeting. There was another meeting also for what we have for a traffic scoping meeting for the traffic study. When I originally wrote this report, that traffic study had not begun. However, since the time of these comments being prepared, the memorandum of understanding between the county, the applicants, as well as our traffic consultant has been executed. It was executed on the 28th of February, so that project, as far as the traffic study goes, is moving forward at this time. I will remind commissioners that any approval of this application would require an engineered site plan to be submitted to the Planning Commission should this, again, be approved. And the site plan would have to demonstrate compliance with county regulations as well as any requirements that TDOT would put on it due to the location of the interchange. The same would go with landscaping and buffering. An EAC zone buffer is determined by the type of the use proposed. Since this is mostly what we're talking about are industrial type uses, this would be our most intense buffer, a type 3 buffer, adjacent to any residentially zoned property. So most of those surrounding properties would have a type 3 buffer against them, and our performance standards would also apply to this. The Planning Commission did have questions about the proposed use of the property. Again, it's going to be for distribution and warehousing with also some office space within. There were also some questions about the applicant's efforts to discuss his plans with the surrounding neighbors. There was one speaker during the Planning Commission public hearing for this item. They were opposed to the request and had concerns about the appropriateness of the zoning in the area, lighting, noise, and traffic. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission, we discussed other developments in the 840 corridor area, as well as some other questions regarding signage, screening, and various other county requirements, and our property owner notification. Following the discussion in the public hearing, the Planning Commission did recommend approval by a vote of 8-4 and 1 against. So with that, I will be happy to answer any questions. The applicant is also present if you have questions for him.
Any questions for Mr. DeMasi? Thank you. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open for item REZ 25-002, rezoning request for Chris Rudd. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request, please come forward. We have, you'll see on the podium a green light and a red light. When the green light is on, you speak. When the red light goes off, you stop, and you have 3 minutes, okay? If you would, state your name and address for the record. Talk to them. Go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lindsay Getkin. I am a resident of the South Haven neighborhood. I live at 1274 Cotillion Drive. South Haven neighborhood is located off of Almaville Road and Ocala Road, running parallel to Interstate 840. I have lived there since 2019. I am speaking briefly today in opposition to the planned rezoning for the property on Almaville Road and Interstate 840 for an employment and activity center. My approach to you today comes from the area of safety and ease of access when myself, my other neighbors, first responders, and et cetera, are exiting Ocala Road, as well as when drivers are going to be exiting off of exit 47 of 840 to travel north onto Almaville Road. To put it very simply, the infrastructure that's currently there is not properly equipped with the additional traffic that will be created with this development. As you exit Ocala Road, your visibility turning left out of Ocala or turning right is not much more than a football field in either direction. With the combination of speed, additional traffic of 18-wheelers, which will be more of a presence, and the low visibility for both directions, this is certain to create more accidents and more traffic incidents, of which I've already seen an increase in my 6 years of living there. Regarding the exit 47 off of Interstate 840, visibility for oncoming traffic again comes into play, whether you are turning right or left, as currently there are no traffic lights in place at this time anywhere on that exit. The rainbow style or arc style bridge that sits next to both exit ramps makes this exit a dangerous fit for this type of business development, again, due to that low visibility. Rather than putting the cart before the horse, let's consider opposition to this development and rezoning for the safety of our residents of this area until that proper infrastructure is in place to handle the additional traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, my name is William Prevo. I live at 1455 Overdale Drive. I'm also a resident of South Haven neighborhood. I've lived in this area for 7 months now. I'm a transplant from Manson Pike, and I watched in a 3.5-year span farmland completely develop into an area where there's just total chaos. Just construction. My big concern is the safety of our community. That's my big concern. I drive every day, 840 to Franklin and back, and at 47, it is a horrible exit to get on to Almaville Road. People driving 96 Almaville Road to that bridge quite often don't even go near the speed limit. Just today, I almost got driven off the road by an excavator. The road's not designed for trucks. It's designed for vehicles that can barely drive on those roads to begin with. There's only about 1 to 2 inches alongside the curbside of the white line. And so we're expected to have a commercial development come in with these trucks, with the radius of these trucks, to turn onto these lanes that are not adequate for cars, vehicles, SUVs. My concern is always for the people of the community, not for rapid expansion. I did see on Veterans Road, and I won't mention the name, but there was a commissioner who actually helped a woman at the intersection of Veterans and 840 where before, prior to lights, which took forever to get there, a pregnant woman got sideswiped in her car and almost killed. So my concern is how many fatalities do we have to have with this rapid development? I, for one, am against the rezoning of this. I wish that we would be responsible, fix the roads first, come up with a plan that will fit within the community, not something just to fill in land and fill in space. That's all I have to say for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, my name is John Miller. I live at 1513 Allwood Avenue in the South Haven development. I've lived there for 5 years, and I've been a resident of Murfreesboro for 20 years. I come to you today to speak against this proposed development. I've worked for the last decade in trucking. So I have some experience as a safety director for over 3,000 trucks of dealing with issues that trucks have. And Almaville Road is not prepared to have a distribution center put on it. According to the FMCSA, which is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, in 2022, 6,000 people were killed by tractor trailers. Putting a distribution center on Almaville Road puts our families at risk. Now let's talk about the logistics of how a distribution center operates. They're 24/7 facilities with trucks going in and out, often set by strict appointments. If they miss those appointments, they are sent elsewhere. They're told, go down the road, go park on the off-ramp, go park on the on-ramp, whatever, come back later when we have your new appointment. This simply means that you're going to have double the traffic now because now that truck didn't get empty and they have to go back in. What makes this more concerning is the nature of the road of Almaville itself. It wasn't designed to handle the volume and weight of tractor-trailer traffic that a DC would generate. These large trucks, especially when coupled with the tight curves and lack of proper infrastructure, present a danger to all who use the road. I implore you to take the safety of my community to heart and vote against this. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Merriman. I also live in the South Haven subdivision at 1209 Appian. I am here tonight to respectfully and arduously request that you all vote no on this proposal. Again, one of my primary concerns here is going to be noise pollution, property values, the terrible infrastructure in the area. Studies have shown that exaggerated noise pollution decreases property values by about 0.75% per increased decibel of noise pollution in the area. Sorry.
My bad.
So your average private passenger vehicle, for example, a Honda Pilot produces about 70 decibels of road noise, as opposed to your average tractor trailer, which produces 100 decibels of additional noise pollution. So, conservative thinking, 150 trucks in and out a day, again, very conservative estimate. The average homeowner in South Haven neighborhood stands to lose 7 to 7.5% of their property value by popping in this industrial development. This figure does not include the additional noise pollution of blaring horns from the semis and private passenger vehicles alike. Given how ill-equipped the existing infrastructure is to manage this current traffic flow, how can it possibly be imagined that a 24-hour flow of 18-wheelers is appropriate for this completely residential area? That leads me to my next concern, which is the infrastructure. Currently, that part of Shores Road, which connects 840 to this site, is a curvy 2-lane road with no shoulder, no street lights, not a single traffic light in this area. Large portions of Shores Road don't even have a turn lane. It doesn't take a professional truck driver to realize that even with poor visibility, even in the daytime, that this site is in no way appropriate for the installation of a commercial distribution facility. Less than a month ago, I personally witnessed an 18-wheeler jackknife and overturn on 840 under half a mile from this exit that we're talking about here. The driver was unable to maneuver around the constant flow of private passenger vehicles. This was on a straight shot, so how can we expect in this tiny curvy road that is anything but straightforward maneuvering, how do we expect it to be any better? In 2017, a proposal came before this council for a commercial rezoning at the corner of Veterans Parkway and Manson Pike. Comments during that overwhelmingly no vote indicated concern over the same factors that are in play here. Excuse me. Underdeveloped infrastructure, excessive noise pollution and lack of appropriate infrastructure. Please don't hear that I am opposed to all progress. That is not the case. However, when we're talking about a development that is dangerous, inappropriate for the area, and financially detrimental for the 100% residential area around it, I feel it's my obligation to speak up. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is John Hargett. I also live in the South Haven neighborhood at 1203 Batbriar Road. My concern that I'd like to bring up, I also oppose this area being developed in the manner in which it is, and my concern really is about light pollution. One of the major factors that I think most of the people of South Haven and the surrounding areas enjoy about living in Rutherford County is the fact that it is relatively dark, it is peaceful, and yet within 15 minutes you're in the city of Murfreesboro enjoying shopping and other things. So it's a nice mix of county living versus city amenities being nearby. So that's the attractiveness that I think we all enjoy there. It's a non-urban, non-commercial. There's limited lighting in our neighborhoods simply because we don't have street lights. And our lights in our neighborhood, which are porches that we can turn the lights or backyard lights on and off, specifically, we can turn them off. My understanding is that this particular facility that's going in would be lit 24/7, 365. That emits a lot of light. And if you can think about it, and I think it's been brought up before, the proposed DC Center sits near the exit of 840 and Almaville Road. And for any of you that have driven that and taken that exit, if you take the exit coming eastbound on 840, and you turn left, there's a very different kind of curve. It's not a straight intersection, which requires people that are driving to turn to the right if they're turning left. And if they turn to the right, they're actually going to be looking at the lights at that distribution center. Compound that by the fact that if it's night and the elderly people like myself have trouble distinguishing objects as we get older in the dark, it represents a safety hazard because it's not clear that you're going to be able to see as clearly as you could if it wasn't there. So, and just the final thing, the AMA, American Medical Association, has developed a policy that supports light pollution as being an issue, especially for the elderly. So I'll take my leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
I'm Doug Kerrigan. My wife's Natasha Kerrigan's here. Thank you, commissioners, and everybody want to listen to what we have to say tonight, and it's very important. I live at 12,000 Franklin Road. I have the land that joins this land, almost 60 acres, and also have the land on the other side of the interstate, the other 25 plus acres. And what I'd like to say is, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'd like to stand and concerned residents of our community and deeply oppose the proposed rezoning of our neighborhood from this residential to commercial use. The changes significantly risk not only to our way of life, but also the environment that we cherish. And our community is a peaceful residence that is home and rich diversity of wildlife. I'm here to speak for the wildlife. And the proposed rezoning would disrupt the nature habitats for these animals, or potentially leading to the decline of local biodiversity. We must recognize the impact of decisions extended beyond our immediate surroundings and threaten to the delicate balance of nature that we are fortunate. So what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, we have you guys standing here going to make the final decision. If you look, when you come into Veterans and coming up to this Amble Road exit, and you stand there at that bridge and look toward the castle, Williamson County, this is the last look that you'll get on 840. That's a rural, beautiful rolling hills in this area of Tennessee. It's going to be on y'all's hands if you want to keep that beautiful look for a long, long time. There's other warehouses can be developed all over town, but we're starting to pick these little spots here and there, make them commercial, then trying to tie everything in together, and it's just really putting a lot of light pollution, noise, and what's going to come with it is going to be crime. Nobody talks about crime when you bring the warehouses. I've been in the forklift business over 40 years. I'm around that work environment. It brings crime. We're a peaceful community, and we like to keep it quiet and docile. and we like for you to think about, consider protecting this part of Tennessee. And you know how many times you get on social media and they talk about the castle and they show the beautiful picture? That's all going to go away. And it's talking about nationwide, not just locally, but that look that you get there in that area, and we're going to lose that. And if we start to jump over these residential areas and step on them with commercial, we're going to ruin the look of Tennessee. We're going to lose that look. And I'm here to speak for the animals and speak for the neighbors, and thank you so much for listening.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Blake Taylor. I live at 1478 Cotillion Drive. I'm a resident and attorney that lives near this proposed development. And I'm here tonight to urge you to vote against this proposed warehouse development. This project poses a serious threat to the safety and well-being of our community. The significant increase in truck traffic that would result from this warehouse will create hazardous conditions on our local roads. These trucks will endanger pedestrians, cyclists, and families simply trying to get to school or work. Our infrastructure is not designed to handle such heavy traffic, and this will inevitably lead to more accidents and congestion. To leave our neighborhood, there is only one way out. There is no traffic light. To turn left towards this proposed development would increase the odds of a safety-related incident. Without the necessary safety and infrastructure upgrades, we are jumping the gun knowing it will lead to issues, whereas just an exit down on Veterans, they planned it the proper way by upgrading infrastructure and safety before developing it. Our community did not learn of this planned development until after the Planning Commission vote, otherwise we would have voiced our opposition earlier. Additionally, the developer has shown a disregard for the voices of the community. Despite our concerns, there has been no effort to engage with residents, listen to our feedback, or address our fears. We deserve a say in what happens in our neighborhoods, and the lack of a town hall with the developer is unacceptable. We are not against progress or economic development. In fact, quite the opposite. We're honestly meeting with our commissioner frequently, trying to bring about development in our area. So, you know, if we're going to bring about economic development, it must be done responsibly and with the well-being of our community in mind. This project as proposed is not safe and does not reflect the values or interests of our community or those who live here. I respectfully ask that you protect our community and vote against this warehouse proposal. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request?
Good evening, I'm Matt Taylor of SEC. We're located at 850 Middle Tennessee Boulevard. We represent the applicant, Mr. Chris Rudd, here tonight. I did want to point out a few things. You know, at Planning Commission, it was overwhelmingly approved because it goes along with your county land use plan. It has extremely easy access to 840 for the trucks. We have very few locations in our county that will provide for this sort of opportunity for employment and commerce. And these are the exact opportunities we should be taking. As Mr. DeMasi said, we have already started our traffic impact study. We've already started meeting with TDOT. Both the county and TDOT will make sure that we have those safety improvements, that we meet sight distance requirements. We'll be studying the intersection with Shores, as well as with Highway 96 and both interchange ramps. So any improvements there will occur before and will be approved and studied before we can break ground out here. We can't go work tomorrow. We have to complete those studies before we can begin any of that activity. I heard some concerns about lighting. Your own standards prevent us from causing light pollution on our neighbors. Your standards will cause us to, or have us submit a photometric plan at the site plan level, which protects the neighbors as well as providing safe lighting on site. The projected buildings here are not an Amazon. An Amazon, everybody believes distribution centers or industrial or distribution in general is Amazon on Joe B. Jackson. That's 1 million square feet. We have 3 buildings here that are all single loaded on one side. Total, they only make up about 430,000. So this is not the same magnitude of impact on truck traffic or vehicular traffic as what you'd see from something as large as Amazon. Additionally, there was, let's see, some discussion of this being an all-residential area. This area has been going under change for a better part of a decade, maybe a decade and a half. If you look at your own zoning map, you'll see that it is a mixture of commercial, industrial, and other non-residential uses. Some of those have not been built, some of them have been built, but it is zoned. The area is prime because of its access and its opportunity to 840. And so we would appreciate your vote tonight. We understand that it does change this particular piece of property, but it is, again, directly adjacent to 840 in Almoville, which is a major arterial. So we would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Got to be quick, lady. Come on. I'll declare the public hearing back open.
My name is Lori Robbins, 1510 Allwood Avenue in the South Haven subdivision. I have not heard anybody talk about the contribution of air pollution. Everybody talked about noise, talked about light, but nobody has talked about the actual air pollution that is caused by the emissions from these trucks. I went online and I studied. It wasn't here in Tennessee, though there's plenty. NASA did a study where they found the PM 2.5 particles. These are toxic micrometer particles that are absorbed into the bloodstream. The emissions that are coming from these trucks that are going in and out all day long, most of which, and there was a huge study done down in California with a distribution center where they found the communities surrounding this distribution center, people were getting really sick, nobody could figure out why, and that's when NASA did this study. Children with breathing problems, asthma problems, adults, elderly people getting sick. There were some incidences of deaths occurring from this emission. It's carcinogens being emitted from these trucks. So that's where I am at. Thank you. I oppose that just for that reason alone.
Thank you. Anyone else? 3, 2. Evening.
I just wondered how any of this got through planning to begin with. When I look at the plat, there's nothing for sewer, nothing for water runoff, nothing to help preserve. There's a creek right behind it. You're going to put all of this water where? I saw no retention ponds on the property to stop this. You're going to cause flooding everywhere down the road. I know in Williamson County, you have to have retention ponds, and they're huge because they have to stop the amount of water that's going to be dumped into the creek and downstream. Several years ago in Murfreesboro, there's a subdivision that got completely flooded. Why? Because they didn't look into the stormwater with everything else going into it. I think there needs to be a whole lot more planning going into your plan before you start, okaying something like this. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll declare the public hearing closed. Mr. DeMasi. The last gentleman talked about planning, and I'd just like to make one particular comment, and Mr. DeMasi can actually correct me if I am wrong. The Planning Commission considered rezoning of this property, not the site plan of this property. The site plan, which includes the engineering, all the water issues, all the traffic issues, and road improvements will happen when the site plan is developed. All the Planning Commission did was to make a decision whether this piece of property should be zoned or rezoned from retail. From residential. I'm sorry. So the issues that the last gentleman brought up was not discussed. There was a very brief concept, but those things will be addressed fully and meet our standards when we develop a site plan. Mr. DeMasi, would you comment on that, or did I say it about right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, you summed it up very well, actually. And I will assure the last speaker that was up here, that the concept plan, again, it is a conceptual plan, but they did identify at least 4 areas for stormwater detention. Again, we talked about the traffic study that's currently underway. Now, that's, again, not finished yet, but that would be something that we'd look more closely at a site plan stage. And like I said, I really can't reiterate any better what Chairman Phillips said, because he's completely correct.
Commissioners, any questions? Any questions for staff? Commissioner P.
Well, Doug, at least one of the gentlemen that spoke said that the community wasn't aware until after the vote. Doug, what did you mail out?
We do our typical mail outs. We do 1,000 feet for around the entire perimeter of the site. There's a sign that is placed on the property as well. All of our agendas are posted online. You'll recall, Commissioner P., that we upped that from 500 feet just a few years ago. So that is something that we do for all zoning applications. So that's exactly what we did. Well, once the mailings go out of our office, I can't control the Postal Service, but I'm just being honest. But we did do our mail outs, like we do for every application.
Other questions? Commissioner Oliver.
Yes, for the person that was representing the applicant, is there a reason why a town hall was not or the opportunity for a town hall to hear from the citizens in the area was not put forth?
For non-PUD applications, there's not a requirement for a neighborhood meeting. That doesn't mean they can't have one. Whenever we do have a pre-application meeting, we always encourage the applicants to talk to the neighbors in the area. Now, again, there's no requirement in the zoning ordinance for that, only for planned developments.
So when you encouraged them to speak to the neighbors,
yes,
what was their
did.
response?
I believe at the Planning Commission they said they did reach out to some. I don't remember the exact conversation that they had. And I don't know how far they went. So.
Commissioner Piercy? Thank you. Any other questions?
I do have another question, please, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Oliver.
One of the speakers talked about infrastructure first. Is there a reason why, I don't know, this applicant didn't go that way? And then there was another response saying that infrastructure would be first. So can somebody clarify that?
Well, I think and I'm going to go by from what I heard, okay? But, yeah, and I understand where the comment was coming from, but at the same time, I think kind of what Mr. Taylor was speaking about was the fact that a traffic study was being done, which would identify any road improvements that would have to be done in that area, which obviously would have to be done should this application be approved and we would see a site plan. So that would be kind of incorporated into that. As far as the things, again, we talked about the stormwater detention and different things like that. There's no sanitary sewer out in this area right now, so they would have to rely on septic, any on-site septic soils that are there. So that's, of course, something I do believe they've done some analysis on, but that's something, again, we would look at during the site plan stage, as well as, well, TDEC, would have to be involved with that as well. And water would be consolidated utility districts. Of course, if they don't have the adequate utilities they need for water service and whatnot, they would have to upgrade those lines to be able to get that through CUD. So it's kind of happening, if this were to be approved, it'd be kind of happening at the same time. Now, I will say, as far as the roads themselves, I mean, obviously, we can't make them widen the entire stretch of road from 840 all the way down to Franklin Road, although we have, the traffic study is identifying 4 different intersections, I recall, the ramps, Shores Road, and then also Franklin Road and Almaville Road. So there may be some improvements that are necessary there, but we don't have that study yet, so that's still ongoing.
Other questions? Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you, Chairman. And Commissioner Oliver, one part of my decision-making is that we know that some of this area is unsafe currently, and often the development of this type compels us to do a traffic study at the developer's expense. And then the traffic study may compel the developer to make road improvements at their expense, to which the current residents have the pleasure of using. So that, again, I just want to reiterate, that's part of my process. If we want to improve infrastructure, this is an opportunity to improve it at developer expense, both the study and the construction of that.
Other questions? Commissioner James.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, I did do a town hall out there after I found out about this, and I brought up many facts that are facing with the county, and they actually brought this up to me with other information that I hadn't had and had to go research and find more details of. I am concerned that if this goes through, that once it's rezoned, if the plan that we don't have, we have a conceptual plan, but it might not work, might get readjusted because that's the next phase, that it stays rezoned. It stays with whatever entity might come behind that can make it work with the new zoning. There's other issues that were brought up as well that concern me, from the noise, the light, the different types of pollution that could occur. But then you argue, well, you're living next to 840. It's going to be right next to 840. But I keep falling back on the argument of safety. This intersection, true, the developer might repair the section or might be compelled to repair the section that's right in front of the property they're getting, but it's right there next to the ramps with no lights, with an overarch that cannot be seen, that is a constantly safety issue now. And with no known from this commissioner whose district's in, if we have any lights in the works of coming through, any expansions from the state, because it is a state highway, anything that's coming down that direction. So at this point, Mr. Chairman, I'd have to move to deny the rezoning request for REZ 25-002.
Second, Mr. Chairman, second.
Who said second? We have a motion and a second to deny rezoning request REZ 25-002. Once again, this is a negative motion, so a yes would be voting against the rezoning. And for this, we'll be on the board.
We have discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, we can. I'm sorry. Commissioner P., my bad.
Just out of curiosity, and maybe Doug can answer this, why could we not do this study and then have this brought to us? Looks like we're kind of putting the cart before the horse on this one.
I mean, that is something that you could do. The traffic study is underway. It is not completed yet. That is an option. Now, I would caution the commission that even if that is the route that this ended up going, you couldn't condition the zoning application upon the improvements if it's not a planned development. It would just be still be a conventional zoning, but that is an option. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Dodd.
And Commissioner P., just one, again, my thought process on that is if this denial tonight is no on the rezoning, then there's no opportunity to invest in the next step. So to a yes, a no vote on this particular motion would very likely stop the opportunity to design, to stop the opportunity to have this land developed that won't impact our schools. This is an opportunity to have the land developed that won't be 2 kids, 2.5 kids, and 2 cars per unit out there. It could probably hold hundreds of housing units. So this has it somewhat innocuous to the student base. It compels traffic studies to help an already dangerous situation. And the county's probably not going to be proactive and fix that situation without either developer-driven cost paying for it or developers seeding money for other improvements on the perimeter. If developers are seeding money, often TDOT then kicks in. And so this could be the seeding process to fix what's already a dangerous situation. So I do want to just share that's my thought process, and I hope you consider that.
Thank you, Commissioner Dodd. Yes,
Mr. Chairman, to counter that, I agree with a lot of the points that you said, except one point that I hear constantly. For too long, this county has done where they approve something and then do the infrastructure on the back end. Now, in some ways, that is necessary. That is things that a lot of the general public doesn't understand, the cost, the layouts, the planning, and so forth. But this specific intersection is a very dangerous intersection as is, and is already in need of this improvements. Something like this would compound that problem with no light at the end of the tunnel for when it's going to be changed yet and be corrected yet. So on that, there is that other side of that argument to consider.
Yes, and thank you, Commissioner. Agreed, and I will point out that the traffic study will use current numbers to make that safety enhancement, plus it'll use the anticipated numbers for the future use. So this may be the opportunity to have the current situation fixed, and the traffic study won't proceed and won't be accepted by our engineering department unless it not only fixes the current condition, but it fixes the anticipated growth based on the traffic count of the new endeavor. So that is part of the process, to include the new endeavor and its impact, which may help get some of these intersections fixed that are already unsafe.
Other questions or comments? I'll try one more time, Commissioner Piercy. A yes vote is to deny. Clear? A yes vote is to deny. Any other questions or comments? Once again, we'll be on the board for this, so commissioners, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
Yes, 8 no.
Motion to deny passes.
Just a brief comment, Mr. Chairman. The Plan Rutherford process is continuing. There'll be another work session on Plan Rutherford after the Planning Commission's April 28th meeting. So I just wanted to make that announcement. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeMasi. Now we'll get back to our agenda. We're up to item F. This is public comments. Let me read out a couple of names and make sure that I don't overlook you. Mr. Hargett, Ms. Merriman, Mr. Miller, Ms. Getkin, Mr. Taylor, and Mr. Kerrigan. We're in public comments, so I'm taking you guys off of the list. Okay? Thank you. Public comments. First on the list is Dr. James Kennedy. His topic is the proposed forensic center. Remind you guys that you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Jim Kennedy. I live at 110 Francis King Drive in Smyrna, Tennessee. Thank you all so much for being our commissioner. I appreciate so much your volunteer. My background is that I was the medical examiner of Williamson County from 1994 to 1984 to 98. I helped you get toll-free long distance, toll-free local from Murfreesboro to Nashville as part of my advocacy during the 80s. I was also chairman of the 911 board. The thing that I want to speak for is in favor of the forensic center that is being proposed. And I do have a letter for you on your desk that summarizes my issues. What I don't know yet, and it's probably because there's not good media, is that I don't know what the strategic plan is. I don't know how the budgets are going to be set up. I don't know who the doctor is going to be, that's going to run this. And also because there is just not enough forensic capacity in Middle Tennessee right now. There is a need to build this. So I appreciate what's being happening. But my concern remains, again, I work with Dr. Charles Harlan. Dr. Harlan, who you may have remembered from TV reports, had his license revoked because of certain circumstances. Cases have been overturned over that. I need absolute assurance that we're going to have a competent forensic pathologist running this. I also would like to be able to market our services to other counties. Right now, our per capita medical examiner costs in Rutherford County exceed those of Williamson. Why should we be paying 150 to 200% more than what Williamson's paying per person per capita? I would like to alleviate that. Last but not least, as you approved the budgeting for this facility that you're going to build, don't forget that we've got to get it certified. And there's going to be certain things that have to happen. Again, it needs to be budgeted for. And again on the budget, I don't know why we can't get state funding. I remember when Nashville got theirs, after Dr. Harlan had their thing, the state put money in the system. The state put money in Chattanooga. Why aren't they putting money in this? What's the politics behind that? I'm a little bit concerned about that. Last but not least, I just want you to know I talked to Bruce Levy. Dr. Levy was the fella at Forensic Medical that established Nashville Center in the late 90s. He's a dear personal friend of mine. He works at Geisinger in Pennsylvania right now. He is more than willing to support the county. If you want to give him a call, I've given you his contact information, which is in this piece of paper. He would be more than glad to help steer this. Ms. Martin, appreciate what you're doing. Dr. McDonald, I appreciate your work. Let's just make this work for the good of the county and the good of the taxpayer. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you. Next is Carl Huggins. His topic is also the Forensic Center. Welcome back to the courthouse, Carl.
Thank you. Most of y'all know me. I'm your former EMS director and county coroner for the county. there were some misleading things just said. I'm not going to get into all of that. This has not been something that started 15 years ago. I actually planted the bug into John Mankins here, planning for the growth, and I'm sure Commissioner McAdoo probably remembers that, and Commissioner Phillips, because they're the two longest serving commissioners. I knew there would be a day like this, that Rutherford County would have close to 400,000 people in it. I've been serving the county for 40 years, and all I've ever done is try to serve our citizens. This is not about a mayor. This is not about any political agenda. I'm certainly not going to benefit financially from it. I'm a 7th generation Rutherford County. I love this county, and I want what's best for it. I strongly urge you to support this. We're never going to be in this situation again where we can actually pay for it, not raise taxes. I've given you 3 business plans over the last 15 years and presented you 2 white papers. You've also had an independent study from the state. It all supports everything I've said for the last 20 years. Not to brag, but I knew what I was talking about then, and I still know what I'm talking about now. Again, I please urge you to support this. This is for our citizens, and so we can better serve them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
excuse me, what was the last speaker's name?
Carl Huggins. Huggins. H-U-D-G-N-S, Hudgens. Oliver Goddard? I might not have said that right. His topic is the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department deputy salaries. Excuse me if I didn't say that right.
Good evening. My name is Oliver Goddard. I'm here tonight on behalf of, speaking on behalf of many Rutherford County deputies, some of whom can't be here because they're out serving our county. I'll get straight to the point because I don't have much time. The Rutherford County deputy pay structure step system is broken. It's not competitive and it's not sustainable. Right now, a starting RCSO deputy makes $52,000, just over. In the same city, a Murfreesboro police officer starts at $65,000. On day one, it's a $13,000 gap. And it gets worse over time because there's too many steps and the step raises are too small. Imagine for me 2 aspiring officers, twins, who start their career on the same day. One joins RCSO, the other joins MPD, Murfreesboro. The MPD officer, let's say, just does what's required, but never progresses beyond patrol for 10 years. The RCSO twin, on the other hand, outperforms their peers, comes top of the class at the academy, goes the extra mile every day, takes on leadership training, promotes to sergeant in year 5, lieutenant in year 10. It's an achievement that few will ever achieve. And yet, after all that extra effort, the RCSO lieutenant still makes about $4,000 less per year than the MPD patrol officer who never once promoted. That's because before we even factor in longevity pay, which is more than double at Murfreesboro than it is at the county, from my understanding, for each year of service. Think about the one deputy twin who takes on leadership and sacrifices more, only to earn less than someone who never moved beyond patrol. If that doesn't make it clear that something is fundamentally wrong, I don't know what will. This is going to become a staffing crisis that affects us all. Right now, RCSO, from what I understand, I've been told, runs shifts with sometimes the same number of deputies that they did 20 years ago. Meanwhile, our county population has increased over 40%. Many deputies I speak to are stretched thin, working sometimes dangerous levels of extra duty just to make ends meet, and they're still expected to do more with less. Other agencies claim that deputies leave for better positions, better opportunities, but the reality is these opportunities wouldn't exist if we paid competitively and provided the right equipment and treated deputies as professionals they are. High turnover means we're losing trained and experienced deputies and replacing them with rookies who take years to reach the same skill level. We're paying for an outcome, not just a job. And I encourage you to stop thinking about paying people to do a job, and we're thinking about paying for an outcome. And the outcome that we have is a safe community right now, but that will change unless we do. You don't get excellence at a discount. If Rutherford County truly expects the best, then why are we comfortable paying our deputies well below the standard? There is a path forward and we can fix this. We need to increase starting salaries to be competitive with nearby agencies, not just the lower paying ones. We cannot continue to exclude high paying agencies from pay studies because they make us look bad. If those agencies are stealing our deputies away, then they're a real competition. Restructure the 23-step pay scale, compress it, and ensure that steps keep pace with inflation, which they currently don't. A step system that loses value over time is not a step forward, it's a slow step backward. Lastly, fix the promotional pay so that leadership roles are properly incentivized so we bring in good leaders. Right now, deputies see little financial benefit from taking on more responsibility. If we want strong leadership, we must reward it. If we fail to act, Rutherford County will become nothing more than a training ground where good deputies get experience and leave for better paying agencies. The choice is ours. Invest in your deputies now or deal with the consequences later. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Darren Hayes. This topic is retirement. I recommend it.
About the wardrobe, it's been a long time since 1850. So, to make a long story short, in the year 1849, when diplomacy was established in Egypt, my grandfather, along with a few others, served as Egypt's first African constituents to the American consulate via James K. Polk. Previously, Ayub's and the heir to the citadel of Egypt, the Crown Sultanate. We took on last names such as Odom, Hayes, Bryant, and Wilson. Being the ambassador to the freed American community, my family served on the abolitionist board with Ida B. Wells, Frederick Douglass, and many more. In 1865, my grandfather who was French by native tongue, enlisted with the 86th Regiment Colored Troops along with the 14th D. Freak. Despite the victory, the 86th Regiment Colored Troops, my grandfather's platoon succumbed to Mexican Republican forces in 1867, and they do hold on in Mexico. My family was then stationed in Rutherford County, married to the Zulu Crown, roughly in the 1880s, as a diplomat from Egypt. In 1910, my grandfather of Lebanon, Tennessee, and of Lebanese Egyptian origin, was born and raised in Lebanon, Tennessee to the late Hassi Hatton, descended from the Battle of Hattin in the year 1187, Israel, AD, daughter of Wilson County's a local washwoman, and Thornton Hayes Jr., son of Thornton Hayes Sr., 86th Regiment Colored Troop, Louisiana. My grandfather grew up in the Lebanon community and was taunted for being an Arab-descended person, which ultimately led him committing an atrocious act of murder in 1938, after my father was born in 35, 3 years. My grandfather was drafted from prison and was stationed in Egypt, where he, along with personnel from Halliburton, established various Egyptian logistics companies that some say are still prosperous today. My father, Charles Hayes, served as a civilian contractor and was stationed in Egypt, where he met my mother in '88 and soon married in Bordeaux, France. They were married in Bordeaux, France, and came here in the 90s. After me being born in Egypt, and after my grandfather went back to living in the housing developments of Lebanon, Tennessee, my father went to reside with distant relatives in Lancaster, Tennessee, and my mother did the same via Commissioner McAdoo's district, awaiting for the okay to return back to Egypt. My father, despite being a civilian contractor, worked from the early 80s here with the Rutherford County Highway Department to, I believe, 98, where I think some things had happened and he was killed. Cecil Wade was my father's brother, well, somewhat brother, since we all had been in separate houses. He said he wanted to live on, I guess, citing his life, stating that after, stating that after he died, I can get the pension or whatever. So what it is, to make a long story short, I'm just pretty much trying to do an investigation with the Commissioners Board to see if we can maybe come to a solution as to how my father, where the pension is. So the pension, retirement pension from the county, of Rutherford County. Because I'm the only thing that's over here. So everybody else is back in Egypt. My first cousins are. So, thank you.
Thank you. Last is Rachel Cornett. The topic is recycle.
Yes, good evening. I'm Dr. Rachel Cornett, President of the Board for Recycle Rutherford, a local nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. I live in District 2, Commissioner Piercy's district, but tonight I'm reading a statement on behalf of Recycle Rutherford's board, and our membership encompasses the entirety of Rutherford County. dear esteemed members of the Rutherford County Commission, for over 3 decades, Recycle Rutherford has been a voice of environmental responsibility in our community. Today, we stand at a critical crossroads. As you deliberate on solid waste plans, we implore you to seize this moment and embrace a future that prioritizes recycling and sustainability. We can't continue to just throw out mounds of trash without making any effort towards reducing, reusing, recycling, etc. We also should not, in good conscience, dump our trash on someone else without any incentive towards reducing our own waste streams. For too long, our county has lagged in making environmentally conscious choices. We know the time for change is now. Rutherford County can no longer afford to ignore the pressing need for responsible waste management with our abundantly growing population. Change is hard, but it can happen and simply must happen in regard to how we handle our waste locally. With cutting-edge technology in today's solid waste world, we have the power to significantly reduce our waste streams. We can implement smart recycling programs, explore composting initiatives, and work alongside local manufacturing companies, as well as invest in innovative waste-to-energy solutions. These aren't just eco-friendly options. They're economically savvy choices that can create jobs and save taxpayer money in the long run. Moreover, we must prioritize public education on this topic. By fostering a culture of sustainability, we can empower our residents to make informed choices that benefit our environment and the health of our community. Commissioners, I'm sure it's not lost on you that the decisions you make will echo for generations, and future generations will either thank you for your foresight or question your inaction. Let's choose responsibly. Let's choose a sustainable future for Rutherford County. The time is now. Our community is ready. Will you lead us forward? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Doctor. Item G, elections and confirmations. Call on our steering chair, Craig Harris.
Commissioners, on your iPad, you'll see a list of notaries. If you have any questions, Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion and a second to approve the list of notaries. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, would like to announce one Planning Commission vacancy to fill the term of a retiring member. This term will end August of 2025. Steering wishes to announce 2 Agricultural Advisory Board vacancies, 1 farm woman and 1 farm man, which will be a 2-year term to end January of 2027. We would also like to announce 1 PBA vacancy to fill a retiring member's term. This term ends in January of 2026. Mr. Chairman, this concludes the business.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Item H, resolution to approve the consent agenda. Chairman Pro Tem Treguch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have reviewed the consent agenda, find everything to be appropriate. Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. For this will be on the board. If you would, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
20 yes.
Motion passes. Item I have no unfinished business. Item J, we've already conducted the public hearing. Item K, report of standing committees. Item K1, Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee, Chairman Robert P. Without objection, under other business, LA 20 North Chiller from the Purchasing Committee, without objection, I'm going to move that up to the budget as item E under budget. Without objection.
You find my location here and we'll get started. Budget item A is a resolution from the Sheriff's Office to repair the wall at the gun range. Resolution be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that your general fund be amended as follows. Unassigned fund balance $405,500. Increased revenue for contracted services, $405,500. Increased expenditures for building improvements, $811,000. Resolved this 13th day of March 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Commissioner McAdoo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that repair, do that include painting the exterior of that building?
I'd have to defer to the sheriff. I think he or one of his representatives could answer that. As far as I know, there's a new wall going up, so whether they're painting or not, is there someone from the sheriff's department?
Just for the microphone, it's going to be pre-painted ballistic panels that'll be going in that were bid, and that bid was opened at purchasing last month.
That would be a yes. Thank you. Any other questions? Once again, for this will be on the board. Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
20 yes.
Motion passes.
Budget item B, resolution. Whereas there is a need for a forensic center in the county, and whereas the forensic center on High Street in Smyrna was approved in the public safety, the health and education, the property management, and the budget and finance and investment standing committees, and whereas the funding for the design, construction, and furnishing is available from the sources: general fund development tax, $671,390.31. General fund committed funds, $4,750,000. General fund unassigned fund balance of $9,578,609.69 for a total of $15 million. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the design, construction, and furnishing of the Forensic Center be authorized, and that the funding be taken from the accounts as noted herein. Be it further resolved that the general fund be amended to transfer the funds to the General Capital Projects Fund. That's a decrease in restricted for capital projects of $671,390.31. Committed for public health and welfare, $4,750,000, and an unassigned fund balance of $9,578,609.69, with an increased expenditure transfer to other funds of $15 million. Resolved this 13th day of March 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner McAdoo.
And also, on my second.
That was your second.
Correct.
Yes.
Also, on my second, I would like for 11 or 12-minute video, really a summary of the presentation from the 4 committees to be shown at this time.
Without objection, we'll play the video.
Over the years, the volume and the caseload has gotten higher and higher. When I left, they were servicing 50 counties, and I hear now that it's above 60 counties. So regardless of the well-educated, well-trained professionals that are working there, the caseload and the volume that they're receiving kind of doesn't allow them to provide the necessary time and sometimes the necessary effort that it takes to provide a thorough death investigation. coming to Rutherford County, coming to a different facility, you know, it gives me the ability to kind of de-stress with that volume and that caseload and get back to that thorough job that I committed to do. It helps me be more empathetic to the families and kind of develop a rapport and kind of reconnect to them. Whereas prior, due to that case volume and to that caseload, I didn't feel that I had the ability to do that appropriately.
One of the most important parts of the investigation for us is timely, efficient communication, not only with the pathologists so we can obtain evidence in a timely fashion, but also to provide information to the families of the victims in a timely fashion.
So one, in Nashville, you can't communicate with. You don't know what's going on, really. You just know that they got it, they're going to do an autopsy, and they release it to the funeral home, like with the preliminary, and then you still waiting for 3 months, and nobody is telling you anything.
Having the forensic center, you know, one of the benefits of that would be able to have a county morgue. While we are graciously appreciative of St. Thomas Rutherford allowing us to use their facility, you know, a county this size needs a county-run morgue. It would be more beneficial for us to be able to inventory those deceased that are there. It would allow for a smoother process for both intake and release as far as the medical examiner transport is concerned, as well as in regards to release to funeral homes as well.
When we look at mass fatalities, identifying the decedent and then also finding how they died is very vital to not only the jurisdiction that it's in, but also for the families. We need to prepare ourselves to receive those multiple victims. At this time, we do not have a plan B.
Part of the problem that we have with the Forensic Center where it's located at is it's in the northwestern part of Davidson County or Nashville, Tennessee. So oftentimes with traffic particularly, it takes usually over an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, depending on traffic, to get to the Forensic Center.
Often we're not able to even attend autopsies, either because of scheduling conflicts with the medical examiner's office or scheduling conflicts with investigators because of the timing of the autopsies. So a lot of times those autopsies take place before we even know that they've happened because we haven't received that communication. The problem with that is that we have officers that are engaged in these investigations, especially in the event that it's a homicide investigation. They're taken away sometimes an entire day waiting on being able to get the forensic exam conducted and being able to make sure they're present for that. So that's valuable time that's lost.
Having a forensic center in the county would give those investigators the time to be there on site instead of having to, not go to Davidson County or spend the time to drive up there and not be able to stay as long as they might like.
The investigator that goes to the autopsy, they're gone for the day. They're lost. They're lost to the unit for helping with follow-up or anything else, normally until after 1, 2 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock before they arrive back, because they may be told, hey, autopsy's at 8:30, 9 o'clock. It winds up being pushed at 11.
Time is of the essence for us. We have to do a lot very quickly with limited resources. So when we talk about having resources in county, an in-county forensic center would certainly help us be more efficient with our time.
My experience over 25 years in Hamilton County, working in homicide for 5 years, that having a dedicated forensic center for your county and not having to compete with 60-plus counties that use the forensic center in Davidson County, it's essential to have one that's dedicated to where, the jurisdictions in Rutherford County are at the front of the line instead of having to wait behind other jurisdictions that are competing for the same forensic center, in Davidson County.
It's so much easier to better understand what happened at that scene, having that 101 with the forensic pathologist there while the body is still being examined.
our agencies within this county are not priorities with the current situation. Having a forensic center here would make us the priority, and we should be the priority here in this county. The problem with us not being a priority is that we do lack the opportunity to get that one-on-one time with the pathologist. We do have a significant delay in the reporting of information back to the investigators as far as we don't get any preliminary reports.
We do have to communicate with their doctors and their staff. Certainly when we go and attend autopsies, we're at their schedule. And so many times the notifications and the direct communication can be challenging. I foresee that the addition of a Rutherford County Forensic Center would greatly improve that.
Having a location that close to where our police station is now, it will give the investigators the chance to be there quickly, stay there, be involved in the autopsy itself, and it will increase the speed in the investigation.
Our mission statement within the Criminal Investigations Division is to be as effective and efficient as possible with our investigations. We seek the most elite training that we can for all of our investigators. Having a forensic center within the confines of this county would allow us an opportunity to not only get elite training for the investigators within this county, including all jurisdictions, all municipalities, but it would allow us to collaborate. It would allow us to have a significant relationship so that we can not only get the best training for our investigators, but we can also provide the best services for the citizens of this county.
Another goal of the Rutherford County Forensic Center would be to provide in-house training opportunities for both continuing education as well as a well-rounded holistic capabilities for both law enforcement as well as ourselves to learn what everyone's role is in that investigation and to learn how to effectively communicate throughout the entire investigation process, providing information to the law enforcement agencies that need it as well as receiving that information from them as well.
We need the Forensic Center here not only to handle our needs, but we just need it here for education and for studies. We need it here for our criminal system, and that would definitely help our criminal system, judicial system, to move on with cases a lot quicker than what they are. And we need it here to satisfy the people of Rutherford County.
When I was very young. I was 15 when I had April. When April was about 10 years old, we moved to Middle Tennessee. So we have been in this area for many years. We've went to the churches here. She went to Riverdale High School. She went to Motlow College. She had her 2 children here in Rutherford County. In 2023, my daughter was found not breathing in her apartment in Antioch. They sent her to the Forensic Center in Nashville. That's where she had to have her autopsy done. This is every mother's worst nightmare, to have your child found not alive. But as a mother, I also had this maternal instinct knowing something was not right. For me to have to work so hard for something that wasn't my job. I'm not an investigator. I'm not an ME. I'm not any of these things, but I believe that I shouldn't have to investigate things that I know nothing about. I should just trust that it's being done fully, 100%, that everything from her head to her toes has been inspected in a way that is looked at not as a suicide, but just medically. Hey, what are our findings? And then for that to be looked into, hey, now let's look at what surrounds the situation. Her husband was in the home at the time of her death. Her husband made the call that she was not alive. Her husband, she requested a divorce 2 weeks prior to her death. There's so many things from the very beginning that just weren't right, and because of that, the report was already started wrong. And so their impression of who my daughter was, the impression of the scene that they came into was, oh, this is just a young woman that's committed suicide. And that was not it at all. The husband has confessed to it was a staged suicide because he didn't know what to do. I just want her case to be an example of all the things that could have been changed?
One of the things that we are concerned with getting our forensic center is developing a better rapport and developing communication with families. This is a public service, so that is one of the primary goals, is to have good communication. And so with that, we feel like if we have that and can bring that back to the community level here, that we would have the ability for both our investigators and our pathologists alike to be able to provide that service in order to speak with families or friends or someone that might have, you know, legitimate concerns and investigate those or provide resources if further warranted.
Having one here at home, I know it would cut the time down, hopefully, you know, from 3 months complete autopsy. And then the families would be able to communicate with that forensic center.
I would have loved to be heard. I would have loved to have somebody show compassion. And I think that is a huge part that's missing.
So I wouldn't want no family to go through it, but they do. And I think we're in a position to do something about it to cut that time down.
We have a motion and a second to approve the funding for the construction of a forensic center in Smyrna.
Mr. Chairman.
Questions? Yes.
I want to,
Commissioner
I would like
Harris.
to make an amendment to this motion. When we were in budget, I went with this, but only under the need that it has to be, because of transparency, go through the PBA. So I want to amend this, and I'm with this motion, but I want to add that the building and oversight go to the PBA, that the resolution will add, because of the PBA has lawyers, because there's bonding, there could be charges up to $25,000. I don't think it'll be that high, but I want to change the unfunded balance, have Michael to add $25,000 to it. Again, this is not necessarily going to be that, but we need to have PBA build this and the EMS. So my amendment is to allow this motion to go forward, but with PBA oversight. And Michael, if I got to put any fancy words with it, just let me know.
We have a motion to amend.
Mr. Chairman, if I could real quick.
And a second. Yes.
How do I open that? 1 second.
You get the second.
Just from the legal aspect of things, as part of that motion, it may be wise to include that the existing CM at-risk contract that's between the contractor and the county also be assigned to the PBA, subject to the county attorney approval, and also that there be a written agreement entered into between the PBA and the county for the entirety of the project, subject to the county attorney approval. We have standard agreements that we have used in the past with the PBA. We just have to get all the paperwork done to do that, and I can work with PBA's counsel, assuming that they accept the project. They would still need to accept this project as well, but I'm happy to work with Mr. Murphy on that.
So do I need to restate the motion?
No, you could just say you include what I said.
Include what Nick said. Include what Nick said.
Any comments or questions on the amendment to the motion? Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you. I would like to ask our attorney, will the current design from KSA and their consultant, who is the health expert, all that will be included with the general contractor's contract?
Yeah. So Mr. Klein is here. I think that there's an existing architectural agreement with the county. To the extent we need to paper up any sort of assignment to the PBA or whatever, we've done that in the past, and I can work with Mr. Klein on that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Oliver.
Chairman Harris, tell me again, why PBA? Why is that piece important?
Well, the PBA just to give you a little bit of something, we had a public safety bill, and they saved us over $500,000. So we have 7 people on the board, which are highly competent in engineering, construction, contracts. So the PBA oversees the bids, make sure that we come in under bid, or if we got to do change orders, they also could ask for a subcontractor to be bonded, and that's where the lawyer comes in. And it's we created this so that we could have transparency and be able, that's why the county created this, and we're not been using it. And I'm wanting us to start using the PBA because that's what they were created for. So that's why I'm wanting these 2 projects to be overseen.
Other questions or comments on the amendment to the motion? There's been some discussion, a lot of discussion on the Forensic Center and potentially using the Public Building Authority for this. There's been a lot of us that have talked with our finance director on using the PBA, and I'd like for him to be candid and give us his input as it relates to using the PBA on this particular project and what he's found out or what his impressions would be. So without objections, I'd like our finance director to make his comments. I know you don't want to, Michael, but I want you to, bud.
I will give you some pros and cons on both sides. The finance office does not matter to us whether it goes to PBA, whether it stays where it's at. So we're going to send the checks out either way. But typically, when you send something to the PBA, one of the benefits and the reason the PBA was set up was to do a different bidding process than what the county does. You can work with a construction manager that does not go through the formal bidding process that the county does. That doesn't mean it's not bid, it's that you work with a construction manager through that to try to keep costs down. And that's a good thing, to keep costs down. In this case, we already have a construction manager on contract. So typically that's where the PBA does excel, is they can select a construction manager. However, this one has been selected through the purchasing committee last year. So they would just be working with the same construction manager that we're already under contract with. So that kind of takes away the pro for the PBA. On that aspect, of course, there's the dollar amount on a project this large. The $25,000 is not material, but it is money. And so there's a pro and con there as far as that. I will add, this project is very complex. We have 3 or 4 different buckets of money this is coming from, because the vote you'll take next, if this one is approved, will have some components of the site work for this forensic center. We also have a third pot out of the county general fund that's funding some pieces as well to kind of make all this work without us having to borrow money. So it is complex. I will say it'll take some time to get some of the legal agreements drafted. I don't know how long that'll take, but that's a pro and con. I'm trying to stay neutral here on what I say. But typically the pro of the PBA would be that they would select, the biggest one is the bidding process. However, this one is set in stone. The CM at risk, RC Matthews in this case, has already bid this project. So that's kind of where we stand. I don't know if that helped you, Mr. Chairman.
It does, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Question.
Yes, Commissioner Piercy.
On our public safety buildings, I believe PBA overseen all of those, is that correct?
That's correct.
Did they have a project manager also
Yes.
on each project?
Yes, they entered into a contract, the last several, with American Constructors for pre-construction services. They've also used Klein Sweeney, who's the architect on the Forensic Center. I believe those are the 2 main. I'm looking back at Bart, he's shaking his head yes as well. So yes, they did use American Constructors for pre-construction services.
Using PBA with this Forensic Center will be basically the same way?
No, it'll be a little different. Like I said, we've already selected the construction manager in this part, so PBA cannot interview anymore. We're already under contract. So it's a little different there. We're kind of telling PBA, this is who you're using if that's what happens here. In those instances on it would have been 6, but they built 5. In that instance, we gave them a pot of money and let them kind of do. In this case, the budget's already been set, even to the extent of the budget of the low voltage, the FF&E. We've set that. Typically, PBA will work to set that, but in this case, that's been set with the construction manager that's been hired as part of that. So it's just different. I'm not saying it's, all I know is to say it's going to be a different process.
Should the PBA refuse to use the person that has been hired, will it have any effect on this motion far as moving forward and building this structure?
Yes, the answer is yes.
I don't believe that it would go forward. If the PBA is not willing to use the same construction manager that we're already under contract with, then there would there could not be an assignment of the agreement to them. It would still be with the county, and it wouldn't make sense for the PBA to do it. It would still be with the county. It would come back here.
I'm going to turn this to Mr. P. Mr. P, we heard this on budget the other night. Was there some type of discussion on PBA, just briefly?
Here's kind of my take on this. Most of the savings that the PBA can do for us is helping select the manager, and that's already been done. And Gary, who spoke to us, the chairman of the PBA, and he noted that, but he did say that there were still things that they could help with, changeovers, change orders, some of the other oversights that they do that they could help with, and they certainly could, I feel like, could help with the EMS building. I've worked as a commissioner here with the PBA for quite a few years, so I am in support of us using them myself. I think the finance director is correct. We can't save, they don't have the potential to save as much money, but I think it will still help us having these engineers, these architects, these builders, these people that understand contracts, looking over their shoulder and helping us. So that's my take on it.
I just want to clarify one thing. As far as change orders and the project goes, if this doesn't go to PBA, that does not mean the mayor's office cannot approve change orders, or my office or Nick's office. What really happens in this case is when something changes, and keep in mind that the EMS station hasn't been bid yet, that goes through purchasing. So purchasing committee will be choosing to approve or not approve a change order in the lieu of where PBA would, just like when the R.C. Matthews contract, it came for purchasing. So any addendums, change orders, I just don't want that misconception out there. It's not my office, Nick's office, or the mayor's office doing anything with change orders. That comes back through purchasing. Any change in dollar amount to the approved amount goes through purchasing first. And then, of course, if there was ever hopefully there's not a change order that goes higher, just like at PBA, if you remember, they approved a change order for the one-stop building. That came back to this body to get additional funding. So nothing ever changes that process as far as if anything goes over that amount, it comes back here. But even a change order goes to purchasing. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Harris.
Michael keeps talking about the PBA. Every time you have a special meeting for purchasing, it costs $1,250. Every time we have a special meeting. We have a mayor who's not have any background in construction, and the PBA has 7 people that are, 6. So that's why I'm asking for the transparency. I'm not trying to kill the forensic center. I'm for it. I'll vote for it. But I want the PBA to oversee it, and I don't understand why transparency is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. And if there is change orders, and it's a $20,000 change order, that's something that PBA would be able to do. It will pay for itself. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Yes, I do have another question because I'm a little confused. Where is the lack of transparency? We've been hearing about this like forever in all different aspects and from different angles. We saw a video. I mean, where is the lack of transparency?
Okay, let me go ahead and tell you. Number one is PBA should have been overseeing who the CM is from the beginning. We never heard any of those numbers. Transfer station was being built without even coming to us. So the PBA serves a purpose, and it gives us, in transparency, we don't know what's going on with the transfer station. Do you, Ms. Oliver, Commissioner Oliver? I don't. So those are things that will be for us to see and everybody see the transparency of it. Because right now, I don't know what's going on with the transfer station. I don't know any changes. I don't know what they've done. Here, we'll be able to have that insight.
Commissioner Beverly?
Thank you. I guess my question doesn't revolve around the PBA, but can you give us the pros and cons of potentially paying this out outright in cash and then potentially exploring a bond, or why we went on the avenue we're at?
So, I mean, the biggest savings is obviously the interest. I mean, that's right off the bat. I think our last bond issuance was, I'd have to look, between 3% and 4%, somewhere in that range. I mean, so right off the bat, you're saving that. Now, there is the opportunity cost of giving up that. However, we are limited in the amount of arbitrage that we can earn. As far as we can't earn 20 years worth of arbitrage, so we're limited to 18 to 24 months. Depending on some other things. I think the benefit is this doesn't impact our debt borrowing capacity. I think the schools are coming next month for $120 million. I'm rounding there, but I think we're trying to navigate the debt issuance without raising taxes and still be able to fund schools, new schools capital projects and county projects for that matter appropriately. So, I mean, this is one option. I mean, we could borrow for it, but I think this makes it simple. We don't have payments. Keep our debt low and save that route.
Thank you. Thank you. That just highlighted my concern, especially when we had a big debate about Del Webb and utilizing best efforts. That was a problem, but now we're writing a check for $15 million. The pendulum seems to have swung, and I'm just nervous about that. That's my concern.
Any other questions or concerns about the amendment to the motion?
Chairman, are we voting on the amendment?
We will. Okay, we're voting on the amendment to the motion. The amendment is to put the construction of the forensic center under the guidance of the PBA. Is that kind of correct? Nick, is that correct? The amendment?
That's correct.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner McAdoo.
I thought we got two projects coming up in that same area, and I did mention it to Commissioner Harris. Why pull out, say, PBA overseas forensic when we're coming right back with the EMS? Why can't we put the projects together, especially the site plan? They're going to be side by side. Why can't we go ahead and take care of the whole project in that area, if you want the PBA to oversee it, to make sure they oversee the entire project in that area? Why we're going to pull out the forensic center? We need to make sure that the PBA look at the entire project in that area. That's number one. Number two, on this forensic center, is special things that's got to be done on that forensic center that will require special expertise. And that's the reason a portion of it is going to have to be looked at with a specialist, even though they got expertise in all this area, but it's going to be some things that's got to be looked at by a specialist. So that's the reason I'm saying if we're going to do PBA, let them start on the ground floor with both projects because it's in the same area.
Chairman, do I need to amend my motion to add the EMS to it?
I'm not sure you can.
Hey, let's just go with what I said, and then I'll come back with a motion on the EMS.
You hear all that? I don't know what to say other than we've been looking at a forensic center for almost 10 years, okay? And I would like to walk into that forensic center with my eyes open instead of laying down. And I would like to move forward with this thing, okay? I don't know how else to put it other than that, but I want to move forward with it. We've got an amendment to the motion to approve the forensic center by adding the construction through the PBA. Any other questions on the amendment to the motion?
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Oliver.
So, involving PBA, what does that do to the timeline and the process? You said the manager's already, what is this, the construction manager's already, so a lot of things have already been done. So what would that do? Can you help me?
I think
other than oversight, I mean, I hear that part, but what does that do to the project?
I think me and Nick are going to have to tag team this unless Chairman Phillips had.
No, you go ahead.
So this is complicated, to be honest with you. That's why we're, with all these agreements already in place, there's two complicated pieces to this. This funding is spread out. Obviously, you have the next item. They're highly connected, right? It will slow things down. There's no way I'm just a fact. The other piece is we're trying to figure out up here there's a portion of this that's already under agreement. The EMS piece doesn't have an agreement. So it is going to slow it down trying to figure out how to administratively just to administer this to get it where it needs to go legally and to try to, on the EMS, on the public health and safety buildings, we essentially gave the PBA $1 amount and said, hey, here's $30 million, go build these 6 buildings. In this case, there's multiple funding pieces coming from multiple pieces. So I couldn't give you a timeline. I can just tell you to rewrite some agreements that are custom and get all that funding in place, it could take a little time.
That answers my piece of it too.
Mr. Chairman, let's do this right here. I withdraw my motion, and I withdraw it, vote on the forensic center, and then I'd like to make a motion about the PBA. So can I do that, and then we can go forward with the full motion? I do withdraw my motion right now.
I'll withdraw the second.
Okay. We're back to the original motion. Now questions or concerns? Yes, Commissioner P.
Well, since we were having all the comments about the PBA, one thing I wanted to mention and why I still support using the PBA, and I support using them on all the projects, not just Forensic Center. But one of the things that the chairman of the PBA was discussing with me is that one of the people that he had either interviewed or had been working with actually has been working on another forensic center. So they've got in-depth knowledge on building forensic centers. So that's, to me, makes sense to, use these people with that kind of knowledge whenever we can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion and a second to approve the construction of the forensic center. I'm calling for the vote. If you would, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
17 yes, 3 no.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item is funding for site work and construction of project at Weekly Lane and I Street. Get on the right page here, guys. Budget item C, resolution, whereas the emergency medical service desires to construct an ambulance station in Smyrna on Weekly Lane, and whereas the county clerk desires to add additional parking spaces at the Smyrna location, whereas a forensic center is proposed for construction on I Street in Smyrna, and whereas it is proposed to complete the site work for all three projects and construct the ambulance station and parking upgrades at the same time to best utilize the funding. And whereas the projects were approved in the Public Safety, the Property Management, and the Budget and Finance Investment Standing Committees, and whereas funding for the design, engineering, site work, construction, and furnishing is available from the Del Webb Public Health and Safety Building Funds. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the design, engineering, site work, construction, and furnishings of the aforementioned projects be authorized and that the funding be taken from the projects as noted herein. Resolved this 13th day of March, 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Beverly.
This has been the topic of adding another ambulance on the north end for a very long time. I want to point out, yesterday at 12:45, there was not a single ambulance in service north of 840 in this county. 3 were at the hospital, 1 was out on a call. Today, first responders were doing CPR in the middle of a roadway on someone, and an ambulance had to come from out of zone. It's happening more and more frequently. I'm glad we're finally exploring this. It is much needed. I want to commend everyone for looking at a 2-bay ambulance station, thinking ahead on the growth. Commissioner James brought up, let's go ahead and put 2 trucks in there if we're really considering this, because it is needed. 4 times a day on average, we're pulling from other areas in the county to supplement on the north end. And people wonder, well, how does that affect Southside on Christiana? You're out on Squire Hall Road or Midland Fosterville, and you're the furthest point away from St. Thomas Rutherford, and you're looking at a 20-minute response time potentially. If there's a train coming down and they have to go up Joe B. Jackson, 10 minutes to assess, and then another 20 minutes in transport, you're looking at an hour before you see a doctor from the moment you call 911. So when you're pulling people from the south to cover the north, it trickles down and it affects all of us. So I really would encourage each and every one of you, when we look at this EMS building, we do 2 bays and we go ahead and fund that second truck because we know it's coming. We have options out Jefferson Pike when that expansion is needed, but it's already here now for Smyrna and Laverne, and in turn everywhere else in the county.
Thank you, Commissioner Beverly. Any other thoughts? Any other questions? Once again, for this will also be on the board. Commissioners, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
20 yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, can I now make a motion to assign these jobs, since they've already been approved, to the PBA?
Yes. Yes. Anyone like the motion to be repeated? His motion? Thought you might, Anthony. If I'm not mistaken, Commissioner Harris, correct me if I'm wrong, but your motion is to place the construction management of the forensic center under the Public Building Authority. Correct. What was that exact, or was we adding something else to it as it
It's over the site and over
proper motion? We have a motion.
Second for discussion.
We have a second. And discussion. Discussion. Yes. Sorry. Commissioner Gooch.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my concern, and I've always voted with the PBA and think they're a good establishment. It's always done a great job. But my concern now is with the possible tariffs coming in from Canada, would this, if it was delayed, would this cause any kind of a increase in cost that would negate possibly the contract that we have with the $15 million?
It definitely could. I think the GMP price was presented to this week or next week, so.
But that could affect the cost regardless if there was a month delay or as of right, if it was passed today without the PBA?
Yes, I mean, we're trying to lock in, I think we're trying to lock in the prices as soon as possible before they increase, if that's what you're asking. They definitely could, depending on some of the materials that are coming from overseas.
So if we voted for this tonight without the PBA, when will we be able to lock in the cost?
I think next week, but, oh, just for the forensic center now, if that's what you're asking. Yes, yes.
Next week. And what would I'm trying to gather to my thoughts, how much delay do you think it would be if we went with the PBA, if we insisted the PBA be on board?
I'm looking at, because Nick's going to have to rewrite the contracts. 34, yeah, probably. A month to a month. So we would have, that's true. It'd probably take 20 to 30 days to rewrite contracts. I don't know when PBA meets next. They would have to approve as well. So I think they just met last Thursday. So at least the first Thursday of next month in April, after the first Monday, which at the absolute earliest would be April the 10th. Yes, at the absolute earliest it'd be April the 10th. I think that's the next scheduled PBA meeting.
Okay, and then without that, for the forensic center, we're talking about locking in the price next week.
I think they were close. I think they had one item left on the list to either approve or not approve, and they may have done that today. I haven't. I'm not sure.
Someone from public safety helped me remember. I'm assuming, and I'm probably making an idiot of myself, but I'm assuming that public safety has already requested that public safety building, that EMS station, already be placed under the guidance of our PBA. Somebody help me that's on public safety. Do you remember that?
Don't believe that's accurate.
I'm sorry?
I don't think that's accurate, sir.
Okay. I thought I remember that discussion. Could be wrong. Probably am.
Chair.
Yes.
Question.
Commissioner Cush.
Michael, Nick, and I think you said there may be a representative from Klein Sweeney here. Question. Does R.C. Matthews, I think you said they are the general contractor?
No, there are construction manager, RCM at risk for the forensic center and the site work on the forensic center.
Okay.
And then Klein Sweeney is our architect. We have not, per the law, they have to bid out everything at least twice, and they have done. They've had multiple bidders. I believe we've had 4 or 5 bidders on each section.
Okay.
So like site work had 4 or 5 bidders and so forth.
You mentioned R.C. Matthews though a second ago.
R.C. Matthews is our construction manager, but they're not the contractor. They can't be until they bid it twice, and in this case, they're not going to be.
Okay, so my question I think is still relevant. Does R.C. Matthews have in the contract, do they have incentive to find savings on the forensic center like a change order or substitution of materials, do they have an incentive to find savings?
I don't know that answer. I don't have it in front of me.
I asked that question because I was on the PBA for 6 years, so I'm very familiar with how the organization works. We typically are looking for cost savings to keep projects under budget and on time. And normally, when we set up contracts, there are incentives for a contractor or a project manager to look for ways to save money. They bring those ideas to us or the PBA, and then we vote up or down if it's worth the cost or the savings. So I'll bet you they do have that capability.
Are you talking about value engineering, or?
It's a value engineering exercise.
So they have presented certain things for value engineering, and of course any change orders or anything like that or modifications would come to purchasing in this case instead of PBA.
Okay. I'm trying to assist Chairman Harris in his transparency issue. I think you still have it with the construction manager who is looking for the best interest to bring the project on time and under budget. So I think that's still level of...
There is a GMP price of $15 million that's capped here anyways.
It's fixed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like we did when we built Siegel High School, Blackman High School, Lane Agri Park. Every project they did was on time and under budget, because we looked for savings, and all the money we saved went right back to the general fund. So I don't know that the PBA in this case does nothing more than add another layer of government, to be honest with you. So I just wanted to point that out, that there is incentive for the manager to look for savings.
I've got a question for Nick, if I could. Would it have made any difference to the contractor bidding this contract, not knowing or knowing he was going to have to work with the PBA?
I have not had any direct communications with the contractor. There may be, with the construction manager, so I'm not sure. There may be others here that could provide insight on that. Have they been used by the PBA before, this particular company? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Commissioner Piercy. They're going to have to report to somebody, and somebody's going to oversee them, whether it's us or the PBA.
Thank you.
Other questions? See, the project manager is here with Klein Sweeney. Would you like to ask him a couple of questions on the forensic center itself, about the bidding process and how going through the PBA from a timing perspective might affect that? Would you like to hear from him? Yes or no? No, okay.
There's some yeses.
What's that? I'm sorry?
There's some yeses.
Yes? Okay. Without objection, I'll ask the representative from Klein Sweeney to come up, introduce himself, and explain why the forensic center calls for a specialist and not just a project manager, but a special project manager.
Hello, my name is Bart Klein with Klein & Sweeney Associates. I guess first I want to say I like working with both the PBA and the Mayor's Department, so it's just a way to have a project built. The CM at risk process has started roughly 6 months ago. It's been a hard bid process. It is the exact same process that the PBA utilizes for public health and safety buildings. The exact same process. The difference is the medical examiners group, Denise, who you heard from today, the mayor, the finance, they have acted somewhat like the PBA. So Adam comes here, I believe, to Adam Dodd, to present to the building group the process of where the projects are. He's going to come and present the same information, the same transparency on both places. If we switch the contract, R.C. Matthews would have the ability to ask for additional funds for dealing with another group of people, because it's an additional meeting, it's an additional meeting minutes. Not saying that's good, better, indifferent, but that is factual. What else?
Questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Oliver.
My first question was, were we supposed to be out of session for him to talk, or is this cool?
I said without objection.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, so relative to the construction manager, PBA, if PBA, is there a possible opportunity where they could say, we want to go with somebody else, and they have to kind of compete again, or how does that?
So currently we have a GMP, so we are in our third pricing round that's been over 6 months with this contractor, where he's priced subs. Right now, we have a number, a not to exceed number. If we do not write the contract with that contractor, that number is no longer valid. So if we start the process over, you're going to cost your project about 8 to 12% per year in inflation costs. So take that and divide it by 12. You're going to cost that per month. You wait. And right now, just so everybody knows, tariffs are real. They are a for sure thing. Our office has had letters from, there's an attorney that represents most of the contractors in the Middle Tennessee area that has written a letter for the contractors, and we have received the same letter from 3 of your primary contractors in the state of Tennessee saying the same thing. So we are all in a race to lock in rates, to lock in shop drawings, to get the steel ordered, because it's a hold harmless on that. For this project, there is roughly $421,000 in contingency, which is controlled by the CM at risk, which is overlooked by the design team, the architects and engineers, and the owners, being the county, that says, here is a pile of money. This money can be used for items that are unforeseen, but you have to get my approval to use this money. This is the exact same process with the PBA. The money that has come back to the county with the PBA has been because of the design team and the contractor. With the PBA watching over us, we have basically been the shepherds to make sure that money's spent correctly. It's no different.
Questions? Thank you, Bart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions and comments?
Call for the question.
Question has been called for. We have an amendment or a motion. It's a motion, I believe it is, to add both the forensic center and the EMS station under the PBA. Some of you may have mixed emotions about that, about maybe one and not the other. If you have questions, now's the time to ask them.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, just real quick, but
hold on one second.
That motion, if I understand it, would include the previously specified items in his original motion made previously, that there be assignments of the agreements and that there be agreements done with the PBA. I'm happy to do that. And then I think that there was also the additional $25,000 that would need to be budgeted. Chairman Harris previously talked about where that would come from. That would all be part of this same motion, if no one has an objection to that.
Clear. Thank you for reminding me.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
A question, I guess.
Wait a minute. Question's been called for.
It's a definition question. The acronym, I believe, was thrown out was GMP, Guaranteed Maximum Price, correct? Is what that's intended as for the people watching at home. I just want to make sure they understand what that's not to exceed it no matter who has it. Right. Guaranteed maximum price.
Please Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
4 yes, 16 no.
Motion fails. Commissioner P.
Item D, presentation of debt service fund cash flow and debt management policy for the 3-star program. This is for your information only presentation. We will not take a vote on this. But Michael, if you would, please.
Just to clarify kind of what the Tennessee Governor's 3-star program is, give a very, very brief overview. Essentially what it does is we present a debt cash flow analysis that's on your iPad. Yes, we have enough cash flow to pay our debts. We also have a debt management policy that we are in compliance with. That's all good things. What this does is makes us eligible for certain additional grants with the state and federal government, specifically some community development block grants and things like that. And so, one, it's just good for us to be good shepherds and have a good debt management policy, which we do. And two, we just want to take advantage of some of those additional grant opportunities for the citizens here in the county, and we have over the past few years, but that's what this is. And then after it's presented here, we'll submit it to the state as required.
As noted earlier, we did have an item under other business, which would normally be under budget, and since that, we're going to move that up at the chairman's request. What this has to do with, we had a chiller on the 20 North building fail, and we had to put that out for bid, and there's about a 22-week wait time for this to be built. As I said, this was bid out. It went to purchasing. Purchasing decided to accept one of the bids. So to kind of give you a background on what we're talking about and why we're talking about it. The funding, and Michael, I'll try to explain part of it. Part of the funding on this is from some of the old grant money that we've got that needs to be spent, or it'll have to be returned. But like I said, we'll let Michael catch that up. But I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution and any questions that you've got. Whereas the Building Maintenance Department solicited bids for a chiller rooftop unit for the 20 North building, and whereas bids were open on March 11, 2025, and the successful bidder's price is $336,180, and whereas funding is available in the General Capital Projects funding by transferring the Goldstein Building Project funds and the Governor's Local Government Support Grant funds, and transferring a portion of the Governor's Direct Appropriations Grant. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the project named above shall be funded as detailed herein. Resolved this 13th day of March, 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Questions? Once again, for this will be on the board. Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
20 yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes budget's business. Our next scheduled budget committee meeting is April 10th. Thank you.
Item K2, Public Safety. Commissioner Reed is not here. Can't remember who the vice chairman is. Michael?
Here. We have no report, and the next meeting is April 8th.
Thank you, Commissioner Rather.
5:30.
Thank you, Commissioner Rather.
March 24th.
March 24th. Thank you. Item K3, Health and Education Committee, Chairman Phil Dodd.
Thank you, Chairman. Health and Ed Committee, no report. Next meeting date, Tuesday, March 25th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. K4, Property Management Committee, Chairman Alan McAdoo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No report tonight. Our next meeting will be Thursday, March the 27th at 5:30. And hopefully at the next meeting, we will start back our tours.
Good. Thank you, Chairman. K5, Public Works and Planning Committee, Chairman Anthony Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, our report will be a little different. Our Public Works and Planning report. We have our Regional Solid Waste Board Chairman, that's Ms. Donna Rowland. So if you would come up. We have two resolutions. One, we voted on the 10-year update plan the other night, but we are required to have a resolution. And then we have an annual progress report that we also have to have a resolution on. So at this time, I'll introduce Ms. Rowland. I'm sorry, Mrs. Barrett. That goes a long ways back. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I answer by any name as long as it's nice. So if you will give me just a moment, we need to get the computer set up. It is a pleasure to be before this board again and be able to provide a report. It has been a little bit. We've been in the middle of some legal battles, so that has hindered things a bit, but I hope to be able to give you some good information tonight. Do I need to turn off and turn back on? Oh, no, there we go, okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to start my presentation. I think that works. All right. As Chairman mentioned previously, did I do something wrong? All right, so I need to hold my foot a certain way. You know, do I need to go? Let's see if I can go back a slide and if it does anything. Tried. Let's turn this off and turn it back on. It's up. Now let's see if we can go to the second page without it messing up. It doesn't like the second page. Try something different. Okay, all right, while she's playing with that, I can at least discuss the annual progress report. At the last Public Works meeting, Bishop Wagner presented the annual progress report for Rutherford County. That is basically, in a nutshell, the report that provides the annual recycling and diversion reporting survey documents. It's the convenience center tonnage, what we take in on recycling. It also includes numbers or the tonnage from any industries that report directly to the county. We then are required, each county is required to submit that annually. It goes in and becomes an update to the 10-year rolling plan for solid waste diversion for the state and for the counties. Rutherford County is a 4-county region. Now, I'm telling some things that some of you already know, but for some of the new members, I want to give you some history and to buy some time. Rutherford County is part of the Central Tennessee Regional Solid Waste Board. The region is 4 counties: Rutherford, Coffee, Cannon, and Warren. So all of our reports' tonnage goes in together to determine whether or not we have met the goal that the state sets for all of the regions. And the state goal is 25%. We won't be able to tell you whether or not we've met that tonnage amount or that diversion amount until the industries that report directly to the state, their numbers are merged together with ours. I will tell you that last year we exceeded our 25% diversion rate, and I hopefully am excited that we will do that again this year. I will tell you I'm not happy with that. I want to increase that year after year after year. So at the last Public Works meeting, that report was submitted to Public Works, and my understanding is it passed unanimously. A few years ago when I came on the board, it was determined that state law requires that before my board can approve that and submit it to the state, which is due March 31st, each county has to approve that report with a resolution. Unfortunately, that resolution didn't make it through the process at Public Works, and you now have that resolution in your packet. It's a 1-page resolution, and all it does is approve the report that was unanimously approved by Public Works, which was the reporting of the tonnage from your convenience centers. And with that, I will read the resolution, and I will stand for any questions regarding that. So the resolution in your package states, whereas Rutherford County is a member of the Central Tennessee Solid Waste Planning Region, which includes Rutherford, Cannon, Coffee County, and Warren County region, and whereas the region submitted an original municipal solid waste regional plan, 10-year plan, to the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation in 1994, and whereas in accordance with TCA 68-211-801, the region is required to submit an annual update to the 10-year plan, and whereas in accordance with Rule 0400-11-01-093D, each county in the region is required to develop a comprehensive, integrative municipal solid waste management plan, which, when modified or updated, contributes and informs updates to the regional annual update to the 10-year plan. And whereas pursuant to TCA 68-211-815-B15, each region shall, A, certify from the county legislative body of each county in the region that they have reviewed and approved of the region's plan and or revised plan, and whereas a copy of Rutherford County's annual 10-year plan is attached hereto as Exhibit 1, now therefore be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that Rutherford County's annual 10-year plan update attached hereto as Exhibit 1 shall be and hereby is approved. Resolved this 13th day of March 2025.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
I do have a question, excuse me.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Oliver.
Yes, is that attachment that she spoke to supposed to be on this iPad?
Say that one more time.
Is the attachment that she spoke about, is that supposed to be on this iPad?
It's a different resolution.
My understanding is
The 10-year plan.
it's in the SharePoint. I wasn't responsible for submitting it at the Public Works meeting, so my understanding it's somewhere floating around on SharePoint attached to that presentation that was in Public Works.
Mr. Chairman, that document is in the Public Works folder as a component of Bishop's solid waste presentation, is my recollection from our meeting, our previous meeting. Is that correct, Chairman? Sorry it's not with this, but it alludes to it.
I was assuming that it was on the iPad, but I do not see it. But it is under Public Works, if I'm not mistaken, and it was presented by Bishop Wagner at the last Public Works Committee meeting. Say that again. tell her that.
Commissioner Oliver, Director Wagner sent that to all of the Public Works Committee members after the meeting. For some reason, it failed to get on the SharePoint at that time. I don't know if it's on there now, but it wasn't on there at that time. But all the members of our committee received that, or at least that was my understanding. I got it.
So the members of the committee received it, and it passed unanimously out of the committee. So what we need is just a resolution affirming that that report is the update, this year's update of the tonnage collections.
Good question, but I don't see it on the iPad at all. What we've been reported is that the Public Works Committee received that 10-year report, and this resolution is asking us to approve that 10-year report.
Yes, and this was unanimous to approve.
And I will point out that the Solid Waste Board, Regional Board, will meet on March 24th, and this is required to be submitted and signed off by the 31st of March by state law. If not, we have to apply for a 30-day delay, and if we go past that, then we start getting fined for it.
Say again?
The meeting will be at the Murfreesboro Airport.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman, is this simply a report on a factual statement of various tonnages, et cetera?
Correct.
So there's no policy decision or policy analysis in this. Is that a fair statement?
The tonnage and those documents are what we will be approving.
Okay, so it's a factual statement as to tonnages, et cetera. And if I'm hearing you, there's nothing that would bear on any future discussions, potentially, about the landfill or anything like that.
I was not in Public Works. I can't answer that question. I would say that would be accurate, but I will.
I'm directing it more towards.
I agree with that.
So there's no policy type analysis in this. Okay, it's strictly a factual report in the Public Works tab. Okay, thank you. If I'm incorrect, please correct me.
It's just something that we do every year. It's routine. So, I mean, we all saw it and we agreed with it.
Other questions? We've had a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposition? Motion to approve carries.
Thank you, members. I will now move on to providing an update on the Central Tennessee Regional Solid Waste Board. Some of this information is current as of right now. Some of it will be in anticipation of our meeting on the 24th. It is relative to be provided to you now, knowing we won't vote on it till the 24th, but I expect no issue with the votes from the board. You just needed this information this month instead of waiting till I can get before the individual committees next month. And I will be requesting to make some presentations before Public Works and potentially Education within the next 2 months. So we'll have additional information coming. I want to move on to the next slide, which is legal. It's going to be an update on the landfill expansion. And again, I'm going to go over some prior information for those that weren't here when we started this lengthy process. The Central Tennessee Solid Waste Planning Board was formed by state statute about 30 years ago, a little more than 30 years ago. We were given authority under TCA 68-211-814. Part of that authority, as you all will remember, is the requirement to approve or deny landfill expansions. And we had that issue come up before our board the summer of 2021. On July 9th, 2021, the regional board denied the Middle Point landfill request expansion of 99 acres onto their own property. On August 6, 2021, BFI Republic filed a lawsuit challenging our authority to deny the expansion. We were in court on that until September 8, 2023. At that point, the ruling came back from the judge, the Chancery Judge in Davidson County, that upheld our denial of the expansion. 1 month later, on October 9, 2023, Republic and BFI appealed that decision. Since that time, we have been patiently waiting, submitting motions and the like for that appeal. And as all of you should have heard, on February 18th, 2025, while we're still, after we made oral arguments December 2nd, February 18th of 2025, prior to any decision by the courts, BFI made a motion to voluntarily dismiss their appeal. Now, what has happened since then is, on behalf of the board, we filed a motion to request a 30-day extension to respond. The reason for that is twofold. I serve as the legal contact and representative for the board, but I felt it was my duty for the board to have the opportunity to hear from our legal counsel as to exactly what that dismissal meant and any actions that we needed to take prior to the judge ruling on that. Because in this situation, not only did Republic appeal the decision where we won, we appealed 2 issues that the court brought up regarding the board in relation to our comments regarding zoning and environmental. And in order to make sure we didn't have an adverse response from the judge with those 2 items remaining, my board has to decide to withdraw their cross appeal. I don't anticipate that being a problem. I expect it to happen, but I need my board to come back together and meet on that. That is the only reason we ask for 30-day extension to respond. I expect a response to come shortly after that 24th meeting, and we'll meet the deadline of March 30th well before that 30 days expires. So that's where we are with that legal case with Republic, so that everybody knows what steps are taking next. Before I move on to one other legal item, I want to give everybody an update on the pilot program that I introduced to this board, to this body in 2021, right in the middle of all the lawsuits coming down. As you will remember, the state allocated $2.5 million with the board having the primary project management responsibility for the program. We had submitted a proposal to the state to work on enhancing the diversion and recycling, not only in Rutherford County, but in the region. And our goal, if we are successful with the efforts with that it can be a model for statewide. Unfortunately, with the lawsuit and the questioning of our authority, that has slowed things down as far as our actions. What it has not slowed down is the research that we were able to put into that. So tonight I'm going to give you an update on that research, where we are, and the actions we want to put into place effective July 1st. During this...
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Oh.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for interrupting. It has been a long evening. Can I get 2 minutes? I need to hear this, but I need to go to the restroom. I apologize.
Take 5. We're in recess.
All right. That was a great break. Thank you. All right. I will begin to talk about the pilot program and the $2.5 million that has been set aside to assist with our increasing our diversion and recycling efforts. And again, our goal is, if we are successful here in Middle Tennessee with these 4 counties, we can make this a statewide application. And I can assure you, the Department of the Committee on Ag and Energy, everybody, this is the topic in Nashville. Everybody's looking for ways to divert, ways to recycle, what is going to be our next step. And this falls very well in line with the solid waste plan that has been in place since 1969, with all the changes that have come along with it. I want to remind everybody, for a while, under our solid waste department, we had Miss Mimi, who was our environmental education coordinator. That position no longer exists, and that's going to come into play in a moment. We now have a public information officer. But at one point, we did have an educator coordinator when it came to recycling and diversion. It probably could have been enhanced and better, but we did have that position. Now we don't. And we've grown tremendously since then as a county. So under the pilot program, as I said, during all this downtime that I've had with legal issues, that has not stopped my research. And I am currently talking to at least three end users in 3 different industries, glass, cardboard, you name it, I've got them. We don't have anything in agreement yet, but I don't have a memorandum of understanding written yet to bring forth. When we do, it will come before Public Works and any other committee that needs to for this group, because I need the buy-in of the county for this. But what I have learned from the memorandum of understanding discussions with the potential end users for our recyclables, that in order for it to make it feasible for them to want to purchase it from us instead of us paying a broker to take it, which is currently what we do with some of it, is we have to have certain collection amounts, more tonnage than what we currently have. So the first step we're going to have to do with any of this recycling and diversion that we have is better education. We can't simply just have 16 convenience centers out there with dates and times posted outside the fence and go, y'all go figure it out. So the first step of the pilot program, the first things we want to fund with it are going to be, we're going to talk about education and grants. And again, we anticipate this funding to begin July 1st, 2025, this year. And it's pending the board, as I'm going to call it, my board approving it on the 24th when we meet, and then anything we need to bring to any of the departments here with the County Commission. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Let's talk about education for a moment. There's a lot out there already that the general public is unaware of. In our community alone, businesses that we have here in the community, Staples takes electronics. Most at no charge. Monitors cost a bit. FedEx and UPS will take back the used cardboard from your business after you've unwrapped everything. You just have to lay it out for them and they take it back. Batteries Plus takes batteries at no charge. AutoZone will take back used oil. No cost. Publix has the styrofoam containers, egg cartons, meal planners, and various other things that are hard to recycle. Your plastic bags that everybody says is not recyclable, they have an end use for that, they take it back. Now, while I can't utilize those in our convenience centers, I can promote those and do partnerships with them. I can have Publix sponsor certain things that we need in partnerships with it. So we have sources here that we need to capitalize on and promote. We also have nationwide programs that we can participate in, and these are things that I want to build on, and I'll explain how we're going to do that soon. Legos takes back Legos and recycles them. Gap has a program called Threads Up. They take back clothing at no cost and recycle it. H&M clothing store also does the same at no cost. And this is just a small sampling of the research that we've done and identified that we can implement here in this community now. This is how we want to implement it. Let's move on to the next slide. Since my computer isn't functioning, I can't pull up the sample that I have, but we are waiting on pricing from a webmaster for a website, countywide website that will be Recycle Rutherford, Rutherford Recycles. It is following along some best practices I've seen in other states. We have a wonderful site for our solid waste within the county website. Dedicated to it, it lists the dates and times and locations of operation for the convenience centers. It tells you some things we can't take, but it doesn't tell you what we can take. So the new website that initially will have all 4 counties, will have a pull down for each county, and then we'll have a section that lists everything that is recyclable and where you can take it. If you want to take it to a convenience center, if Publix is the best place to drop it off, if it needs to be Threads Up, if you want to go on Free to Me Rutherford, which is a Facebook page. We're not capitalizing on the media resources we have out there to get out our recycling and diversion options or the benefits that we currently have. So that website is going to take and incorporate all of that, and our proposal will be that it becomes the link off the Rutherford County Solid Waste page as information for the general public. In addition to that, just having that available is not enough. Getting the message out in the media is going to be the step 2 of that same action to go into effect July 1. PSAs, I'm already talking with WGNS to line those up. There'll be 30-second public service announcements promoting recycling. Most of us in this room are old enough to remember. Joshua may not, but the rest of us should remember the commercials we used to see where they were littering along the highway and the guy in the gas guzzling car throwing things out. Yes, we need to bring that generation of those PSAs here. And with the help of other states that have great PSAs that we can model off of, and with Keep America Beautiful, their efforts with their PSAs, we have a database of those that we can readily use or have them become what we need for Rutherford County, specific for Rutherford County or Tennessee. That falls in line with commercials. We have a database of those ready to create specific for Rutherford County and the region. And we also have a database of K through 12 curriculum. If we're going to start this, we will start this. We need to start this. If recycling and diversion is key to our plan, and it is, that's the state plan and has been for over 50 years, we have to have the education piece in there. We can't rely on this is what we need. I will have 3 more phases coming shortly on this, but this is first step that we want to get up and implemented by July 1 at a minimum, if not more. But this is what I know we can accomplish by July 1. In addition to the education, next slide, please. Did I get everything on that? Yes, okay. The website will also include links to do-it-yourself items if folks want to do their backyard composting, and issues like opportunities like that, and then a facts page such as how dirty does a pizza box have to be before it can't be recycled. I know that sounds silly, but the rate of contamination affects how successful we are in the diversion and whether or not it gets to be truly recycled or if it ends up in a landfill somewhere else because we've taken it from point A to point B and it's too dirty. So we will talk about and really drill down on what a clean stream means and what works and what doesn't work. Next, grants. Also part of the July 1 Jumpstart, we will advertise starting the 24th. Again, I have to get approval from the board for a grant writer. I know the county has had grant writers in the past on a part-time basis, county-wide, but this one is going to specifically focus on recycling and diversion. We have grants that are available from the state that are funded with our tire fees and various other things. And the state dictates those. That's something we have to work on with them. I think there's some improvement we can make with that granting process to make sure we're truly funding what is needed versus what they think is needed at the moment. But what we're missing is government non-state grants. For example, the Keep America Beautiful, that's federally funded. Those have to be applied for. Part of the research I did, to give you an example, for 2025, Keep America Beautiful had a grant available if you were a community that had a Martin Luther King Jr. corridor. Well, guess what we have? I didn't have a grant writer. I missed the grant date. This will come up again next year. I don't want to miss opportunities like this again. And you have them not only through government, non-state of Tennessee grants, but we also have public sector grants. In my discussions with publics, they have grants available as well, and there will be other private sector grants like this available. I don't want to miss that opportunity. That comes in, and these will focus on recycling and diversion in our community and in the region. We can start capitalizing on this. Again, we can make this become the model for Middle Tennessee and for the state. So that is the update that I have on the pilot program. I'll take questions on that before I go. Any questions on that or what I've discussed thus far before I move on to the last and final legal update I want to give you. All right, I want to move on to the last. This is my second legal update. As I indicated, by statute, the board has authority granted by the state of Tennessee to implement. We have the authority. We've just gone through the court case, and TDEC has always recognized our authority to deny or approve the landfill expansions. In that same section of code, my board also has the authority to implement flow control. That definition of flow control in state statute, where I'm already authorized to deny or approve the expansion, says that we can, if it doesn't meet our plan, our regional plan, our 4-county plan, we can deny the disposal of out-of-region garbage. So that means if it is not garbage from Cannon, Coffee, Warren, or Rutherford, no landfill, public or private, can accept it if we pass that flow control. April 25th, 2022, my board passed that flow control measure. We had public hearings on it. We had the 30-day notice. We had 2 meetings on it. BFI Republic had their attorney present for the meeting, had the opportunity to speak and they did not, and even referenced the fact that we passed flow control through their attorney in a letter to then Mayor Ketron. By that same statute, BFI Republic or any other hauler or affected person had 30 days to which to appeal that decision of flow control by my board. 30 days. It was to either be appealed in the Chancery, the courts here in Rutherford County, Cannon, Coffee, or Warren, or directly to my board. BFI Republic or no other entity appealed that decision. Now, what I want to point out also in statute is that, again, we're talking the same statute that involves the flow control, involves my board's authority. It is defined as unlawful to dispose of solid waste in violation of this chapter. My board has the authority to implement the rule, regulation, however you want to classify this flow control. We had the authority, and it is part of the chapter. It is now a violation for Republic to transport out-of-region garbage into the Rutherford County area, or the region area. I'm going to say Rutherford County. Please know that I mean the region because it applies to the 3 counties, but this is the one we're talking about. On December 12th, 2022, we notified TDEC of the resolution. Formally notified them. They knew about this. This was the talk, I promise you. I was in enough meetings after that in the industry that everybody knew we had passed the flow control. We notified TDEC of the resolution, that its effective date was January 1, 2023, and we offered additional information or documentation to help them enforce. My board has authority. It does not have enforcement. Enforcement resides with TDEC by statute. Since it took 2 months for TDEC to respond back with a letter dated February 2nd, 2023, TDEC did not deny having authority. They did not deny the board's ability to implement flow control. They simply wrote back and said the department does not believe state action to enforce the regional board's resolution is the right path forward. Since then, I engaged in conversations with the assistant commissioner repeatedly to try to find some resolution and get some movement going forward. After those conversations resulted in no efforts, the board sent another letter on April 30th, 2024, stating all the statutes that I've just given you, and then some, laying out the authority that TDEC had by statute, the authority my board had as statute, and again, asking them to implement and enforce what we had already passed. To date, we have no response back from TDEC yet again. On May 13th, 2024, my board sent a letter to the state delegation and to the governor asking them to require TDEC to do its job. That has resulted in meetings with the state delegation, and from those meetings comes the resolution I'm about ready to ask you for your support on. And before I get to that resolution, I want to point out a couple of things, if I made my notes. I'm aware this did not go through Public Works. I was out of town. We were still trying to determine what actions to take in regards to the lawsuit, and I was in discussions with the state delegation. The General Assembly is set to end session April 15th, April 17th. Well, that's their goal anyway. That means committees are starting to close down. My board meets on the 24th, and the same resolution that I'm going to ask you for your support of will be presented to my board, and given our history, I have no doubt that we will have near unanimous, if not unanimous, support of it. This will give more effective tools to my delegation, our delegation, to help move the needle on this somewhere. And before we get to the meat of this, I do want to point out that in the host agreement that Republic entered, that governs the landfill, Section 4 on page 5, under compliance with laws, the operator of Middle Point Landfill states it will comply with all applicable federal, state, and local laws now in effect and which may hereinafter be adopted and become effective during the terms of this agreement. Now, with that, what I first want to do is just read you the last whereas and the be it resolved. All the other whereases are the statutes and the steps that I've just read to you that took place. And I'll be glad to read over those, but I don't think you want me repeating that right now until we can get to discussion. So the resolution that I'm asking you to support tonight, so that I can take this to my board and say we have our county support, and then I can go to the state delegation immediately following and saying, help, we need this. We have tried repeatedly for 23 months, and I've gotten nowhere. I did everything I could to help this county in its situation. We stepped up. We denied the landfill expansion because it was the right thing to do because it didn't meet with our plan. This is step 2 of that. It doesn't meet with our plan. We are required to, in our APRs, our state plan, to effectively manage for our region. That's the 4 counties I've talked about. That's our first goal. That's our stated goal. That's our plan. So this is the resolution, the end of the resolution. Whereas the County Commission of Rutherford County, Tennessee finds it appropriate to support the flow control measure enacted by the Central Tennessee Regional Solid Waste Planning Board. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Commission of Rutherford County, Tennessee, that we hereby request that TDEC, as part of its statutory duties, immediately notify Middle Point of its unlawful activity, indicate that their unlawful activity has existed since January 1, 2023, and as such, the maximum civil penalties in accordance with TCA 68-211-117 shall apply retroactively of the date of this resolution to each unlawful disposal violation and each day of acceptance. Indicate that penalties will continue until the unlawful activity ceases. Conduct an audit to determine the quantity of non-compliance disposal. Confirm damages incurred by City of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. Indicate that all penalties are due immediately. Indicate the unlawful activity of accepting out-of-region solid waste for landfill disposal must cease immediately, and require that all unlawful disposals be removed from landfill or offset the equivalent. I will point out that the violations are in line with what is the maximum allowed by state law. That's for one violation for one day, and for the past 23 months, that totals $3.6 million. And I will stand for questions.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a lot of red flags. May I request, Nick, may I request executive session?
Yes, that would be appropriate.
Chair, I make a motion to retire into executive session.
Second. We have a motion and a second to go.
May I stay?
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session for legal questions and considerations.
No vote, no deliberation, legal questions to Nick.
Yep.
All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to go in executive session is approved. Commission has, now's the time.
I stand for questions.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Cush.
You may get a lot of questions. Do all four, are you seeking, let me rephrase. Will all four counties be read the same resolution, and you're looking for all four counties to support the resolution?
Yes, I would like that. Whether I can get them by March 24th, I don't know. Okay. Everybody's schedule is different.
Okay.
We are the largest, and I can tell you that as we have been dealing with these issues, those counties defer to us.
Yeah, all right. The other thing that's fuzzy in my mind, maybe others, is has the delegation, do they think they need this tool to help sway the governor, put pressure on TDEC to enforce, or is this just something that the board has said we need to lay out this resolution and try and get support?
The delegation has not taken a vote collectively. The individual members have told me this would be very helpful. Okay. And all of you know that's going to be helpful. You send resolutions all the time to the General Assembly asking them for things in this community. This is the process that we do. I have fought for 2 years on this. I have been the voice to TDEC, knocking on the door day after day after day, asking them to do exactly what they recognize my authority to do in stopping the landfill expansion.
I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Okay.
Why do you think TDEC is giving you the Heisman on not wanting to enforce what they clearly understand is the law?
If I knew that, I would know how to fix it with them. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I can tell you that every time I try to address it, they're more than glad to talk about recycle and diversion. Glad to talk about that. Any plan, any idea, bring it forward. But when it comes to this, it's always, oh, you're in the middle of a lawsuit. And let me point out something else about TDEC when it comes to this. By statute, and by the resolutions that all the counties passed when it came to setting up this board and giving us the authority, whether by state statute or by the resolutions that each county commission passed, the board was to have all available assets available to them, meaning legal services, offices, advisors, you name it. When we first started talking about the landfill expansion denial, TDEC cut off our advisor. He wasn't allowed to sit in on any meetings, give us any advice. When we passed the flow control, the landfill expansion resolution to deny the expansion, they refused to give us an attorney to help us with it. I have been fighting this project, this issue that's been before this county. This has been before the county for 20 years that I know of. This dates back to Mayor Burgess. We've been talking about this and talking about this and talking about this. We finally have action. I find the things that we can do statutorily, and I just need help. Everybody says they want a solution. They want to know what we can do. This is what we can do. If you're telling your constituents that you don't want the out-of-region garbage, I got it. Legally, by statute. Just say you support me. Or you're telling your district something entirely different.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. You have the floor, Commissioner
Ms.
Johnson.
Barrett, has Republic cited or been cited by TDEC in their formal reports?
Yes, multiple times. Multiple times. And oh, by the way, none of those citations have resulted in a monetary violation to them, even though it's required. Republic itself has said they will limit the flow of garbage that comes in here. They've offered that. Every one of you have heard it. All I'm saying is, here's the opportunity to say, fine, but take it to this level. This is what our region's plan. This allows us to affect the plan that has been in place, that we've been talking about for years.
Yes, sir. Commissioner P.
Donna, I've been in support of being able to limit what comes into this county and where from all along. I think that's something that should reside with this county and our residents through your board, through our board. The problem that I've got, and don't misunderstand me, I do support you, but I'm a little bit worried about contract violations, what's going to happen, and we've got a attorney on. We've hired a attorney that specializes in waste. I don't recall his name. Nick can inform me there, but I would really feel a lot more secure being able to talk with this attorney, whether in an executive session or going back to Public Works. And I know you've got a deadline too, so I don't know the answer to that, but I'm just telling you what I'm worried about.
And Commissioner, I understand the legal concerns. I think you know me well enough to know my research. I would not bring something to this board that I didn't think could be supported legally. And the contract, the host agreement, plainly states that they will comply with all future state laws and regulations. This, by virtue of my board being structured by statute, and by statute allowing this flow control, is a state rule regulation. This is not a violation that this county commission is making of that host agreement by any stretch of the imagination.
And like I said, I concur, and you've done exactly what this commission in the past has asked you to do. I concur all the way down the line, but still, you know, I'm surprised at seeing this right now, and that's my fault, I'm sure, for not following this as close as, you know, I saw that we had won the lawsuit, I thought they still had some appeal time left in there. That's, one of the questions that I've got. Have they run out of time to appeal the decision that you're talking about? It sounds like they have from what you've presented. Is that correct?
Let me clarify a little more on that, and then I want to make a statement about this resolution and the next steps. The expansion legal steps, where we are legally with the expansion. That appeal, we won the original lawsuit to deny the expansion. Republic appealed it. We were waiting, we had oral arguments, we're waiting on the court to rule on that appeal. We expected to win. Republic then came in and voluntarily dismissed their appeal. My understanding, and I'll get further clarification from our attorney on the 24th, but I've spoken with him, that will be dismissed. When that is dismissed by the courts, they cannot refile that appeal. That ends that appeal. So that expansion issue is over. Now, when it comes to flow control, this is the one you're asking about on contesting. Flow control, when we passed it, by state law, and I can quote this section of code, they had 30 days from the day we passed that resolution. And we did all the open hearings. We ran it through open meetings to make sure we didn't violate anything. I learned my lesson in all these processes when we went through the landfill expansion vote. So we dotted our I's and crossed our T's. We did everything that was required of us, and then some, to make sure we did everything right. They or any entity affected by it had 30 days from that time frame. Let me pull that up. Okay. Okay, so that was, we passed that on June 6, 2022. They had until, I'll give them July 8th to appeal. They could have appealed either through our court system here, through Jenny Jones' office, through Cannon County, Warren County, or Coffee County, or directly to my board. They did none of that. In, what letter was it? There was a letter to the mayor, what do I do with that? Recognizing, so on June 6th, no, I'm sorry, we passed it on April 25th. They had until May 27th to appeal. June 6th, they recognized our passing of that flow control in a letter from their attorney to then Mayor Ketron, acknowledging that we passed flow control. It's now been 23 months, and there's been no action to appeal our decision. With us, with TDEC, with Jennings' office, nothing, no action whatsoever. Now, what I wanted to clarify, when this goes to the General Assembly, and I give it to the members, say, we need help. This is what I've done everything I can possibly do. This is my Hail Mary, help. Then they start discussing. Right now, I can't get them to the table. I want all of this. That may not be what gets negotiated out, but right now, I don't have any negotiation. They won't come to the table.
You're saying our delegation won't, or the Republic won't? I misunderstood something there.
TDEC won't. TDEC is the enforcement. I need them to do something. Their last response in February was, the department does not believe state action to enforce the regional board's resolution is the right path forward. And then no response to the follow-up letter that pointed out state statute that says this is what they need to do.
You know, personally, and I'm speaking for myself only, I want TDEC held accountable. I want TDEC to have to enforce these state laws. And I want you to be able to sit down at the table with them and do that negotiation. But I've just seen this contract, and like I stated a minute ago, I worry about some of the consequences of what we're asking for here. Now, I don't have a problem in the world with telling our delegation or even making a motion to say, hey, please get TDEC off their keisters and start negotiating and working with us to, get this problem worked out. I don't have a problem in the world with that, but until I can sit down with our waste attorney and look over this contract to see how he reads on that, I'm leery of it. I want to help you, and I understand you're squeezed on time, but like I said, I'm just seeing this.
And I understand, and my apologies for that. It's the timing. What about passing it contingent upon the attorney reviewing it?
I don't know. I may ask a question to Nick here as far as timetable and how that would help you. Leverage you're looking for from us is with our delegation. Is that correct?
This resolution would go to my board, then my board would send it to the delegation with the resolution identical to this that we will pass on the 24th.
Like I said, that's where I've got the problem without speaking with that attorney, and that would be in another executive session. I hate having, but Mr. Chairman.
Let me make a suggestion. Donna, you said, Ms. Barrett, you said that the 24th is a magical date. Is that written in stone, the 24th?
We have already given public notice of that meeting. We have a deadline of end of March, whether it's 30th or 31st, to approve the APRs. My board does not meet regularly. They're a volunteer board, so we try to put as much on the agenda as we can, so this was going to be on the agenda for that, given the fact that, as I've stated, all of our efforts to get responses from TDEC have fallen to no response now.
Let me make a suggestion, and that's all it is. It's a suggestion that our county attorney get with, what's his name again?
Our environmental counsel, Gary Shockley.
Our environmental counsel, and go over this and get some legal guidance. And as a result of that, I'll call a special session of this body before the 24th to give Donna an answer. That's something that is possible for everyone, and that would probably be next week. I'm sorry?
Mr. Chair, if we could set the date tonight.
You need to give me a couple minutes. It's not as easy as that. We have publication requirements. There's lead time with the local newspaper. I don't know when that is. That can change. We have to get it submitted, and it has to be done and published so many days before the public meeting. Getting it done before next week is not likely, but the week after is probably doable. So I'm happy to work with the chairman after this meeting, if we have to get a date that works with everybody or the majority of people that can attend. Doing that, though, as I sit here, may not be a good idea. But the week after next would be before the 24th, would it not?
No, 24th is a week from Monday.
Mr. Chairman, I think I can offer a compromise. I can propose to my board that we can suspend our rules or amend our rules to take a vote electronically, as long as I get this before our March 30th deadline of submitting the APRs.
And if we can end up, after I look at this, if we're able to do it as early as next week, we'll make it work, but obviously we have to comply with the law. So I think that I think doing it the week after next is probably very much doable. I'll look and see if we can do it sooner. And I can work with Chairman Phillips to get a date that works with the majority of the council or of the board.
Anybody object or have a problem with that? We can get with our legal counsel, get the answers from a legal perspective, Commissioner P., that we just talked about, and then call a special session of the full body to discuss what we found out through our legal system and make a decision on the resolution that Ms. Barrett has presented.
Can somebody offer that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second. Now discussion on that.
Read the motion, please.
Well, yeah, so I think this would be a motion to defer this item to a special, to a to-be called, specially called meeting of this body so that the body can get counsel for the legalities of this decision, and at said specially called meeting would make a decision on the item that's been brought here tonight by Ms. Barrett.
Did we have a tentative date?
The meeting before the 30th, though.
Yeah.
The tentative date would be week after next. That would probably give us enough time to advertise that special meeting.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Barrett.
Yes.
When do you intend to present this to the other 3 counties, or are you?
As soon as I can get it to them.
Before your deadline?
It will get to them before our 24th meeting. Whether or not they can vote on it by then is suspect. But again, this is the county it affects, and our history has been with the board that whatever the affected county wants. That's the way we had with the landfill expansion, and I don't expect it to be any different. Okay. We will have a unanimous vote on this for our board, which represents all 4 counties.
The term flow control.
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking about percentage of flow or total? My question is, are we going to try to monitor it back and cut it down or cut it off?
Statute says cut it off.
Now you've cleared it up. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Commissioner Dodd.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make an amendment to your motion to not chase a 2-week deadline, but to chase our next monthly county commission meeting and executive session after that. Amend the motion for the deadline for us to respond be our next advertised calendar county commission meeting with the executive session to follow.
April the 17th.
To give our council and potentially our committees a chance to contemplate this. But most definitely so that I make that motion and ask me if I need to clarify it.
Let me get a second.
Thank you. That's the first clarification. I make that amendment to your motion.
Anthony's motion.
Chairman. Anthony's motion.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay. Ms. Barrett.
I want to remind everybody that that date would be after session ends.
So we
delay that, and we're looking at another year before we get to address this.
Mr. Chair.
If we do that, we just will also tell her no tonight.
Okay, guys, hold on a second.
Are we in session?
Asked to be recognized. Yes, we are. Asked to be recognized.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Beverly.
This is a major decision. Not many things warrant a special called meeting, but I think this is one. We need to discuss this. We need to give an answer so you can operate efficiently. I think we have come up with a compromise of getting where your board can vote electronically. We can discuss this in an open meeting with the advice of council. I think that's the option we need to pursue.
Mr.
Waiting
Chair,
until after
Mr.
the
Chair.
session, or waiting till the
Point of
end
order.
of session.
Point of order,
is
Mr.
not the
Chair.
option.
I'm sorry?
Do we not have an amendment?
Yeah, we're
Second.
discussing the amendment.
He seconded it for discussion.
Second it for discussion.
We're not discussing it, Anthony.
Something else.
The discussion is proper, Anthony. We're good.
Hey. Maybe I misunderstood the amendment, but I thought you said our next meeting, not special meeting. That's next month. That's not a special meeting. That's what I'm saying. You're not talking about the amendment. He's saying the next meeting.
My opposition to the amendment.
But my question is, if you're going to wait until the next commission meeting, that's after the next Public Works meeting, this should go back through Public Works where it would have gone before. Let this go to our attorney, let him look it over and bring it to Public Works, and then bring it to this committee. That gets it back in the order it should have been to start with, but I understand, things happen and you can't get things in on time, but we're changing the timing now if we're waiting until next month.
That was an amendment to wait until our regular session. The discussion is on that, or whether to have a special session. Commissioner Beverly's discussion is proper. Ms. Barrett's answers are proper. So we're having a discussion on whether or not to consider having a special session or waiting until the other one. Let's not get hung up on crap, guys, okay? We need to get through this before tomorrow. So we've had an amendment to the original motion of conducting a special session probably sometime week after next, which would give the regional solid waste board an opportunity to make a decision while the legislative session is still in session. And I hope I've summarized that enough. So the amendment is to wait, to not do a special session, but to wait until our regular meeting on the 17th of April.
Mr. Chair, that's why I called point of order. That's what I was discussing, was his amendment is to wait. I'm saying we shouldn't have to wait. If we're going to wait, we need to take it back to our committee. It's not going to change any other timing. It goes to our committee, and we send it on to here.
Yeah, I understand. So if I can, it appears that the commissioner is wanting to make an amendment to the amendment. In other words, push it off to next commission meeting, but in the interim, have it go through Public Works first. Mr. Dodd? Mr. Dodd? Commissioner Dodd? I can't see you, I'm sorry. All right, sorry.
I wasn't trying.
Would part of...
Amendment.
You were not?
I was discussing. That's what this is discussion on the amendment.
Right, and so...
Why are we going to go to next month without going through committee?
Right, so I'm trying to assist here. Would you be willing to change your...
Prefer my motion stand.
And not go through Public Works?
Yes.
Okay.
Call the question.
Let me just say this. If we waited, if we didn't have a special session and we discussed it at our April 17th meeting, it will go through Public Works because Public Works meets before that session. We have an amendment to the motion to not have a special session but to wait until April the 17th. I'm calling for the question. Anybody have any other discussion before we call for the question? The question is, the amendment to the original motion is to wait and not have a special session, correct? Any other clarification? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Motion fails. Now we're back to the original motion to confer with council, to, after conferring with council, call a special session of the Rutherford County Legislative Body to discuss and give Ms. Barrett an answer to her resolution. Make sense?
Call for the question.
Question has been called for. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposition? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
Donna.
Okay, it's been a long meeting.
Yes.
Our next Public Works meeting will be April the 8th. It's a Tuesday at 5:30. And I want to apologize to the Barretts. Ronnie Barrett, Donna's husband. It's good to see you here. It's always good to see you. And I am so sorry for confusing the name. And Commissioner Cush reminded me of what business you were in, and maybe I should have ducked when I messed up so bad. So,
thank you, Chairman Johnson. Item K6, Steering Legislative and Governmental Committee, Chairman Craig Harris. Okay. That brings us to other business. Any shout outs? Let me just bring up one thing that back during the middle part of February, the latter part of January, we had some really nasty weather. It got down to 0 and below 0 for a week at a time. Our emergency responders, our sheriff's department, our ambulance service, our highway department did a yeoman's job in keeping this county open, and they're to be commended for their dedication to their jobs and doing that service. So shout out to those guys. Anything else?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I do have something. This is real quick. This is for other business. Because I don't know where we need to go to do this, but considering the school board is getting a new sound system, I think we need to look at a new sound system. Because I'm sitting right here sometimes and I can't even hear what's going on. And I'm watching on TV and can't hear what's going on. And I'm getting complaints from citizens that can't hear what's going on.
Let me update you a little bit on that. You brought that to my attention about a month ago, maybe a little more than a month ago. We took it through the mayor's office to our IT department. They immediately came in and adjusted all the microphones, and when they did that, half of them blew up. So there is a new system that will be installed by this time next month. At least that's what I was told. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Anything else? Commissioner Piercy.
I would like to give a shout out to those who've been here for the past 4.5 hours. So let's give them a hand clap as well.
We are adjourned.